You're kidding me. All right, I'm going to show you what's happening. And I don't know a way around it because it's just like the rocking. Um, I'm going to go off mic for a sec. There's this little button right here. Okay. You see that little button right there? When I pick up my earphone, when I grab them, when I go to grab them, my hand hits that button and I don't know it. And then when I put them on my head, it's muted. And I need to build in some way to double check that every time. And that is going to take some work to do. That's what's happening. Okay. Can we get Antler and makeup, please? Thank you. All right. Deer and makeup. All right. Sorry about that. So let me think what all I was saying in that last 2 minutes. I was going over the news. Y'all can look at the headlines yourself. Nothing really stood out. And I was talking about, because I was playing that rock song at the beginning. Oh, thanks, that witch. Cool. Put your testosterone on low heat for a little while, or estrogen or whatever has you chomping to come up here. I know you can't get enough of me, but let me do about 10 minutes of monologue because I have a few little things I want to share. And then I'll drop the link. I forgot what I was saying. So anyway, I I was going over this article, but then I realized it might not be the right article. So let me try to find the right article real quick. I apologize. This is me. See, this is why I need a producer. Oh, speaking of producer, I got to get the link to Moose too. Wait, hang on. All right, I'm having a Jeff thing because it's taken me forever to pull up the right article. Um. Oh fuck. You know what? Never mind. I might as well have been on mute because wait, what do you? Because it was an article and I read it this morning, and now when I go back to it, they have it behind a paywall because I used up my free read of it. So now I can't even access it. So never mind. The other thing I want to share real quick is this article someone sent me on masculinity, modern masculinity, the concept of agreeable disagreeableness. It's what it is. It's policing disagreeability by the agreeable. The agreeable are getting together and policing the disagreeable, which are a lot of males. And so I thought it was a really good article. I just wanted to share it. You could all take a look at it. All right, Barnabas, what are you saying? You want to come on before everyone else? Um, cause Moose usually comes up too, but I guess I can keep him backstage if you want to do something private. Um, man, I really got to watch the way I talk. I know that's what you try to get me to do. What's up?
Hello,
No,
hello.
yeah, hello, what's up?
What's happening? I just wanted to say hi. I don't like when your show has like 50,000 people on here and you stream it like 10, 15
You like it
hours.
when it's more intimate, just us?
Yeah, just you and me. Just you and me. You and me.
That's kind of baby
You
rapey,
and
but
me together. Na-na-na-na, together. Always. Na-na-na-na. 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 Bro, that's what's up, man. I just wanted to say
you wouldn't
hi
cam
before
up
you
for
come
that?
up. You want me to cam up?
Yeah, I think you should. If you're gonna, yeah,
All
I
right,
think it
hold
was
on.
a wasted opportunity.
All right, let me get a shirt. Hold on.
All right. Oh, Colt, you think with the what 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 I like is like a good one-on-one or maybe two people with me kind of mediating or facilitating, but something more like intimate and focused, and then a few panelists afterwards. Not a whole panel, but like adding 2 or 3 more people to the conversation after a while. You might have already ruined it, but go ahead, give it your best shot.
What? I ruined what?
No, it's a meet. It's never mind.
No,
I need
it's
to
fine.
learn.
Go ahead.
You were gonna do this. You were gonna sing. Do your little song and dance. I hope
Oh
there's a
no,
dance.
I don't want to do it cammed up. No,
Well, that's the whole point.
feel
That's
mine.
what I
I
said.
thought you wanted me
Like,
to cam up just to be regular.
no, to do your bit, cammed. It seemed
Well,
wasted to do it behind a little mugshot.
well, I'm not a trained monkey. You know, it's just it was spontaneous. It was
I
right
thought that's what
there.
you were
I
trying to
felt it.
be. I thought that was your whole ambition was to be a performing monkey.
I'm trying. Yeah, I have
Hell.
2 movies coming up, so get ready for them. I'm going to be in Black Slasher 2, and I'm going to be in Fat Man. So get ready for it.
Where can viewers find out more about these features, these upcoming features?
Well, come to my show, and when they come out, we'll watch them.
So no website or social media or anything that normal movies have when they're doing promotion?
No, they have. I go check out. A Naughty Christmas Story. You know this. Check out
I know it. I'm trying to get make any information you want the viewers to know about this movie, how to get more information accessible to them. So I'm trying to help you, and as usual, you're being your own worst enemy and tripping over everything I'm trying to do here.
You're right. That's a fact.
They're not going to watch. Let's not pretend they're not going to watch your movie anyway. So
yes. So what's
you went through the performative ritual of announcing the movie. We can go on to the next thing.
I mean, I have an Instagram acting page, but I don't really want to share it with all the YouTubers because I feel like they're gonna come get me or something. So I just want to keep it kind of hush. Honestly, I don't know.
Okay. And what's the other movie?
I mean, I'm in a bunch of movies, bro. Black Slasher 2 is coming out, so you got to watch Black Slasher, the first one. It's on Tubi.
Are you in that one?
No.
I'm probably sure I could catch up without seeing that first one. I've seen a few movies in my life.
But you got to see Black Slasher. Black Slasher 2 is going to be even better.
I've seen Blackula.
Well, it's like Black Slasher's like, Friday the 13th with all blacks, except for me.
There's
Black Slasher 2.
So what do they do? Because the horror movies is like the black people don't get killed because they're smart enough to run away from the slasher. It's the white. So if there's no white people to stay and get killed, then what happens? Is that what this explores? What happens in a horror movie when there are no more white people and you can't use that excuse?
That's a lie, anyways, perpetrated by people like you.
Because in Scary Movie, that black girl got killed, the one in the movie theater on the cell phone.
Yeah, I know it's supposed to be funny. Haha. Yeah, Chuck doesn't like this content. My acting career is a bomb.
Who doesn't? Chuck doesn't.
Actually, no one likes it. Honestly,
Chuck has 100 other panels he could go zip onto. It's like
I like Chuck.
Planescape.
Awesome. I mean, do you want to talk about these trans shooters? Let's be real.
Wait, you were up all night. I woke up this morning at 6 in the morning. You were still on talking about the trans shooter, and you're still you. There's more in you.
Wait, why do BB and Chuck not like? Who is BB? Who's BB? Be brave.
So you're getting sucked into panel drama.
Chuck
Why do they get to call you bro? Can I just call you bro? Would that work?
Sure.
Okay, Bronibus. Bro, we'll stick with bro. Come on, you fucking up my show. Get
What? Are we in a
rush?
rush?
Talk about something.
I just wanted to say hi. I wanted to see what's up. What's the talk? You don't want to talk about this trans shooter?
What do we know? I haven't really looked at it, so what do we know so far? That you could fit into about 2 minutes.
The trans again. All the shooters coming out are trans.
Not all the shooters coming out are
trans.
Yes. School shooting is a mental health thing, first and foremost.
Why are they all trans?
They're not all trans.
They are.
Some are going to be, because that's a category these days. So some people are going to be in it.
Look, the trans category is this big. But
are they all trans male, male to female?
No, it's both. It's back and forth. Trans man, trans woman, back and forth.
Because I always thought school shootings in general were a male thing, or shootings in general.
Yeah, they're
Mass
supposed to be like
shootings.
white incel nerds, can't get any bootang.
Yeah, and they're
Don't
taught that
understand.
the kind of hatred that it takes to make you go shoot, like think that these people deserve it is taught. Just like racism is taught in our generation, like the hating black people or thinking they were lesser were taught by specific families to specific kids, and you knew who those families were and where it was coming from. It was being taught. This shit is being taught, except it's being taught at an institutional level now. Do they know about his like social media or what his background was or what he was into?
Yeah,
Hey, Jason.
he's into trans. He's
Okay.
trans.
Well, I guess that's that conversation. What's the next topic? Is there
Um,
is there any other like riveting details you want to give us on this?
the father. Oh yeah, only white parents get in trouble for their kids if they shoot places up because. Oh yeah, there's some weird sound, whatever that is. I don't know what that is. It's not good.
We have Jason in the back. I'm not sure who you are. We've had a few trolls lately. I've been porn bombed yesterday. So
What kind of
just
porn was it?
give me something to go on in the back. I'll try to review your channel, see if I can vet you.
What kind of porn was it?
It was diverse. It's
What
very
does that mean?
diverse. Too
What does that mean?
diverse.
What does that mean?
It was not the shade you're probably used to seeing.
Well, when I was with Jay Rillo on his stream, Jay's Juicy Jay's Hot Topics. That's the only time I seen a porn bomber, and it was disturbing because I tell you something, and I know we're gonna go back to the same thing where you call me gay and everything, right? But the truth is, I don't think about gay butt sex that much, but when I do, I always assume that they do it doggy style.
Oh no,
And
you don't.
I didn't know. I didn't know. And then
Well, how would you?
I just thought it was always doggy. And when I was on Jay's Hot Topics and he got porn bomb, bro, it was
Oh,
missionary gay,
that's the first time you learned. Like that was like, so you got educated, had an epiphany from a porn. So they do have value after all.
It's
YouTube,
just
you hear
extra
that?
nasty. It's extra nasty, bro. I mean, like, bro.
Hey Bex.
It's so gross.
Oh, it is open panel, Jason. But I with people I don't know, I have to kind of make judgment calls. And I went to your channel. There's one subscriber. There's 3 videos that look kind of weird. So I'm just gonna need to like know more about you or see you on other panels or have somebody vouch for you. I can't take the risk right now. I've been getting too many. All right. No. Barnabas has 2 movies coming out: Black Slasher 2, and what was the other one?
The pilot is Fat Man. Superhero movie about a fat guy. I'm not the fat guy, just so you know.
Oh, they got somebody more big. They found a somebody more positive about their body.
Yes.
All right, let's see. Let me
All right. What's the topic?
whatever. It's gonna be whatever you end up wanting to talk about anyway, because it always is. So
Oh,
what do
okay.
you,
Well,
we might as well just let you drive.
all right. We talked about not a racist title. Interesting. Well, it's black people made it. Should I as a white man tell the blacks not?
Well, what is your
how to
role
name
in
their
this then? What is their agenda for you in this movie in 2024? Are you the diversity hire?
No, so I work with all the blacks, and they always need like a bad white guy. And the dude, I like him, and I told him like I just want to be a bad guy in movies. So he's writing these like scripts for me, so I can be the bad guy. And apparently, I'm going to be like a sex trafficker, abductor.
Oh, right. We saw that. Did we see that little clip? You
No,
showed
this.
us. You showed us something.
I mean, I do lots of stuff,
You showed us some
bro.
little clip of you and. Right. Well, yeah. Well, they they always have been.
I'm to be famous.
Oh, let me check out this. I'm still trying to find your channel. Let's see.
Does makeup make a person a woman?
That sounds like something up your alley. You want to have that one?
No, makeup does not make someone a woman.
Would you like for him to come up and discuss it? And does money make a man masculine?
Kind of.
Well, why don't we have him up?
Well, okay.
You wanted a topic, or do you want to ramble on about it for a while and get all your stuff out so that when I bring him up, then it could be more of a conversation?
No, I just want to talk with you, and then I'll leave. I don't know. Just what were you going to talk about before I came up?
I had no particular topic. I was trying to do this article on rock, and they interviewed this gay guy, and he's talking about how rock is changing, and now you have to consider all these different minorities, and it was the woke stuff I was talking about, but it was showing up in this article from way back, and I found it interesting that even back then some of this language and talk was making its way into these articles. But then it got put behind a paywall, and now I can't access it. So that topic went up in smoke.
Oh, rock is diverse, is what you're saying?
No, they were saying it wasn't. It was about Heartland rock, like Bruce Springsteen, John Mellencamp, all the white. You remember the white Americana, Rust Belt rock? It was about that, and how now you have to be aware that there's all these other minorities, so it's harder to have that or something. But it was all framed from this diversity lens. And this was the quote that really caught my attention: that if you've been in a position of power, if you're white or male or whatever, and you have privilege, you're not truly helping someone else until you step down from that position of power and give up your privilege to somebody else. So it's not about having privilege and being aware and everything. It's about you relinquishing some of your privilege so that they can have a share of the privilege. Dirt is who is Destro?
It's the G.I. Joe guy, the bald guy. That's what I should be.
I don't know him.
Well, you let G.I. Joe. All right. I think I got my Jeff fill for today. I do appreciate you letting me come up here and talk to you. It really is hard to talk
before
to
you go, give me a hint real quick. What gave you your fill? I want to learn how to deploy this better.
I just had unfettered access to Jeff.
It got too spurgy. What's driving you away, I guess, is what I'm trying to... so I can use it next time.
Okay, well, I mean, that was kind of fucked up, but at least it's honest. So the truth is...
Transparency creates trust.
The truth is, I got shit to do, and you are kind of a distraction.
Well, you know what? That's okay, because hang on. We got a VIP that just... Have fun, get your shit done, and we'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey, Steve, what's up?
What the fuck was that?
He got shit to do. Welcome.
Oh.
He was on his way out. He was on his way out as soon as he walked in. What's going on?
Oh, not much, man. I just woke up and I got online and was just fucking around and thought I'd check out and see what's happening, and here I am.
That's kind of what we've been doing.
Yeah. So what are you doing today? What's the
this is pretty much my new job. I'm here all day.
All day, every day?
All day, every day, yep. Sometimes in the evening.
Well, what would you like to talk about, Jeff?
Well, this guy, Jason, you want to come up? This guy has some topics around gender, some questions. Does makeup make a person a woman? Does money make a man masculine? Do we expect women to give up their family court and divorce advantages? Then we can't. Right? Yeah, I agree. So he was wanting to come up earlier, so we could talk to him if you want.
Sure.
Okay, Jason, you want to come up? Just to be safe, because of what happened yesterday, I'm gonna put you behind this for a sec. But what's up?
How you doing, man? Greetings from Germany.
You too. Greetings. What channel do you want me to put? This one or your other channel?
Oh, my channel is What the Funk Is This? I just happen to be on my phone that has my name. But,
okay, let me get that one.
It's my first time coming on, so I wasn't expecting me to shout it out or something. So.
Oh yeah, no, I promote everybody's channel that comes on here. All right, let me.
The funny thing is, over here in Germany, they like Germany, Russia, they actually listen to funk music. It's called Memphis funk a lot. So
what kind of funk?
Hip hop is not very popular over here because it's not a gun culture. So it's very hard for hip hop to translate over here when there's not a lot of people with gun mentality. So a lot of them, I've kind of started listening to Memphis funk, which is a lot like synthwave with beats, but at the same time they take the vocals from Memphis rappers and put it on top of music. So that's a new genre that's kind of over here, and I've been promoting that. So that's what my channel is. What the funk is this?
Do you have a link you could drop in the back, and then I can put it in the chat for you? I found one, but it just has like a race car video with 2 subscribers. That's probably not yours.
No, mine's like a 400 something. But yeah, I'll write it in your chat. But like I say, it's not a big deal. We can just speak about the topic if you want.
Oh yeah. No, go ahead. I'll do that in the background.
Okay, so first of all, tell us how you got to Germany. Why are you in Germany?
Oh, I've been here for 10 years actually. I bartended in Boise, Idaho, and
that's crazy. I'm from Pocatello originally.
I don't date white women, but as a bartender, I had this formula that worked where if I would go to cities where it's like all white, then I wasn't really spending my money dating and like trying to get with women. So I could save my money for like half a year in Boise, Idaho, pour beer and make money. And then I would go back to the hood and just like trick it off and have a good time. So that was kind of my formula in my 20s. So that's why I went to Boise, Idaho. But I met a German, first white woman that I ever dealt with, and everything just kind of made sense. So I decided to come here to Germany and started, and been here for 10 years with 2 kids now.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's an interesting story.
Thanks. I'm not with her, but I do tell men from America that as an American man, your father rights are a lot stronger than you think. And especially even here in Germany, if you have a child German and you stay here, life is easy peasy.
Nice. I think most men misunderstand their rights in court, but also they don't. How would you put this? If you walk into it already thinking you're going to lose, you're going to lose. Like I took my ex to court and I have custody of my son, but I didn't try to destroy her, or I actually fought for her multiple times, and so it just depends on the kind of character you are and the kind of, I guess, dialogue you have in your head.
That's the one thing on a global scale. I think we need to stop kind of focusing on trying to be married, and we really need to start focusing on healthy co-parenting, because I think most people are born outside of marriage anyway. And I think that if we actually could have a code, this is what I say: we can be racist towards each other later on, men. Like, we need to fix this this global phenomenon of child alienation. It's all very idiotic, and I think all men really have to do to fix the problem is just stop working. If we had a global,
hey, I did my part.
Oh, dude, phones would shut off, gas would stop running, electricity would stop, internet would stop,
the police would, like, all of it
wouldn't run,
and. Like,
Jason, your mic's clipping just a bit. You're coming in and out.
Mine?
Yeah.
Like I said, I just think it's a very easy solution if men just stopped and we kind of understood the law, understood what we're even signing when we sign over a birth certificate. Like we're signing over our rights, especially if it's really jacked up. And we need to kind of be aware of that and then move accordingly after. So all this fighting back and forth about marriage, it's pointless. I don't think that women want to grow old with men long term. So we need to start kind of rethinking what kind of relationships our kids are going to have, and then try to help them guide that, because my kids are 5 and 7. 20 years from now, their relationships are going to be completely different than what I think relationships are supposed to be.
Yeah. 100% agree.
And there's no code for co-parenting in a good way. Black, white, like, no one's making a consolidated code of how to co-parent effectively. White men are destroyed by court. Black men are destroyed by court. Everyone's getting.
Well, even the nuclear family itself, or the idea that you need only 2 parents, is coming under scrutiny.
That's been destroyed, I think, in America. Because I think even, like, I'm an 80s baby. in the black community, we got hit with that mentality at an early age. But I think a lot of my white friends in the early 90s and 2000s, their families fell apart. So now the nuclear family for you guys is kind of being attacked. Whereas it was attacked for us, I would say a decade before.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I didn't have it growing up
so it was
either.
attacked even 30 years before that for us.
But now just the idea, but at least there was still the idea that it was a good thing to have. And now it's like under ideological attack, I guess. There's this idea that the nuclear family is actually bad for society. People shouldn't try to just be parents of their children. Like it should be more of a collective state project.
Well, yeah, they want men to still procreate, but they want the government and the women to kind of be the delegators of it because that makes more money for the system.
I don't
So
know.
because if it was a nuclear family, it wouldn't be a very capitalistic household, I think.
Oh, so the nuclear dismantling the nuclear family would make it more capitalistic?
Absolutely. Or even if you don't dismantle it, kind of micromanaging the man's voice in the family is better.
But why are men letting this? That's my first. How is this? This would not be happening if men would not be letting their voice be micromanaged somehow in a way they hadn't before.
Okay. I can answer that, but I'll let the other two kind of answer it first because I have.
Hey, Leggy, what's up?
Hello.
I have questions. So you'll have to explain to me why the non-nuclear family would be more capitalistic.
Because women spend more. I think when a father's in the house, the money is not wasted. The money is. It was like when my papa was in that. I actually used my papa for my bank, and what I learned is that when I had to go actually tell him what I wanted my money for, I realized, like, you know what? Me trying to tell my papa I want some money for some weed.
Your mic's doing that. It's cutting in and out. It's hard to hear. Yeah.
He's probably on his phone microphone, which phone microphones will do that.
Okay, is that coming in clear now, or is it better?
Yeah, I think that's a lot better.
Okay, sorry, but like I said, I think with
Oh, now it's doing it again. I wonder if it's. Do you keep moving away from the mic?
No.
Oh.
I have it right. I have the phone right in front of me.
Okay, that's what it is. It's your phone. Like certain phones do that. I can't remember what they call it, but it's like they'll actually reduce your volume for certain things. Like what is it? Noise reduction. You might be able to go into your phone and turn off noise. Actually, go into StreamYard in your settings and turn off noise reduction. I believe it is. That might be one option that you can try first.
Okay, I'll try that.
So I think I understand where you're coming from, what your point is, and
I was saying when a single mother household, they spend more money than a father in the household would spend. That's what I'm saying. It's better for capitalism. When the mother is kind of in charge of what the women are. Oh, I want my kids to go to this school, and the father is on the other end in his bullshit apartment, but he still has to pay into that. That works better for the machine versus a man being in the house with his wife and the children and delegating how the money is spent as a family.
I know in my situation, the ones I've seen with my friends, the men had the money. They're the ones with the money to spend. So when my mom was single, she had way less money to spend. So we definitely spent more money when there was the male doing the spending, just because there was more of it.
Yeah.
But that was back in the day. Like
so now women are making the same money. So now that's not an issue, and they have the ability to do the same kind of spending.
Yes, but nowadays with women would spend more. Women go into more debt for capitalism, trying to maintain a family and trying to maintain what they think the family should look like. Versus, I think a man in the household wouldn't want to take on those sort of debts and those responsibilities that feed the machine in a better way for capitalism. I could be wrong, but I really do think that men and women spend money in a better way, in a more practical way in a family, but versus when it's a single mother household, it's more for trivial things that really aren't so important.
For us, it
Like when
was for
people,
survival, like mostly. And then if we had anything left over, we got the extra stuff.
I think the statement might be framed incorrectly because so capitalism obviously is a different topic, but when we're talking about spending, what are they spending their money on? And men have a habit of not spending their money wisely. Like we have projects that we will never get the financial return out of. So like if you drive Jeeps, right, you're dumping $3,000 into a $1,500 Jeep Cherokee, or we buy a bunch of things that are just kind
my
of
friend. That's nothing funny because I'm at my
Sure.
dad's. I'm at my father-in-law's garage getting a wheelbarrow and putting my Jeep Cherokee right now. So
See?
that's not even funny. Come on now.
I'm
now.
a Jeep Cherokee owner, dude. I loved four-wheeling, but
Dude, I got an
um,
08 and I love it, dude.
nice.
Dude, I absolutely love my Cherokee. But
See.
still though.
Women
That is funny
have a
though, because I
tendency-
am. Here, hold on, I'll even prove it. Hold on,
Yeah.
I'll even prove it. Hold on.
Oh, a live demo.
We're gonna see some Cherokee porn. Awesome.
Oh yeah, there.
Ooh, look at that trunk.
Hey, now, they just pulled out. Look at this car they just pulled out of here. Hold on, I gotta show you this car. They were just working on
I
the
love, Moose
Hold
was
on.
showing his
Like,
work earlier too.
dude, this is the
America's
shit my
being spied
father-in-law
on.
works on. Like, look at this. My father. This is like the type of
Oh
vehicles he
shit,
works
it's a
on,
Volkswagen thing.
right? He works
That
on
looks
cars
like
like
a
this.
safari park
It's called a
vehicle.
Volkswagen thing.
Dude, he was just working on
Oh,
this.
for sure.
They were just.
Oh, that is clean. That's a
Looks like a
Dude, they were just
Carrera.
working on this when I
911
come in.
Carrera.
Dude, they pulled
It
it out.
looks like a
It's
toy.
nasty.
Yeah,
Nasty.
Carrera SS. Oh, it's a Carrera SS.
Oh,
it's
wow.
Carrera S. So it's a turbo version,
Dude,
I believe.
somebody should make a go OnlyFans for cars and just see how much money they could make by like just going around a car and just like drawing titties on them, but like fancy cars.
Dude, that's one of the funniest things when I was on the panel for the Johnny Depp trial with the National Organization
Oh,
of Men
God.
for Men. I
Yeah.
had my camera set up, and I was a mechanic at the time, and I had it set up so you could actually see what I was doing, and it brought in way more viewers than we expected. It was just funny. But,
We really need to, as men, we need to kind of sit back and really enjoy that trial. Like that was great entertainment from the my dog stepped on a bee. That part, like,
oh my god, the whole thing, dude.
that entire trial was just better than any movie could have been.
Well, and you could tell when she was lying in real time. Like even like hardcore feminists were like, "Oh my god, this bitch is lying."
a megaphone?
Like there was a lot of feminists that were not happy with her because they're like, "This is putting us in a horrible light."
Right?
And
Amber
it
Turd
was an embarrassment.
Yeah.
No, but and the funny thing, it was great for men for that to actually happen, because I mean it really kind of changed the pendulum for, I think, some empathy to kind of come towards us when she shed on his bed. Women were like, okay, maybe women are not so princessy that we think. Like it really that trial needed to happen, because
Hey,
before
maybe
that
she
it was
wanted to
brutal.
remake Two Girls, One Cup. Who knows?
Well, it highlighted the fact that women aren't as sane as feminists say they are. And we all know that some men are just absolutely bonkers. And it's just like, I think it kind of evened the battlefield a little bit and said, look, we're all a little bit crazy here. Let's stop pointing fingers at shit when we don't know the facts. And
Yeah. I've been a career bartender all my life. I try to tell people, like, until you've had to like try to stop a drunk woman from fighting, like, you don't understand or know how to stop women being like. Everyone thinks it's so easy. Like, just hold her. Just stop. Like, you guys don't know what it's like to try to calm an angry woman. There's spitting, there's scratching, there's all types of weird sounds they make that just scare you. Like there's friends involved, there's associates. Like every time, I'm like, you guys don't know what it's like to actually be in a violent situation with women. It's scary as hell as a man.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, oh, you should no.
So
they pretend to be scared of
pepper
us.
Spray. I'm team pepper spray. I will never hit a woman, but I will pull my pepper spray out. And at my bar, I told my staff to do it. Look, when there's an altercation, spray, and everyone just we'll figure it out later. Because no one's
there you go.
No, it works.
Look, I don't know about you, but I know some women that can knock some motherfucking dudes out. Like,
oh yeah,
same. That's the women I'm used to.
Like, there's some women that work on the boat that lobster fish, man, and dig clams, dig worms, work on the water.
Oh,
dude,
the lobster, dude, you not the fishing chicks.
Yeah,
oh no, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, and the shitty thing is if you get into an altercation with a drunk woman, you're gonna be in trouble with the cops. It's not gonna go well, and I think that's the part that they don't explain is like when we have to deal with them when they're in that state. Every single card in the deck is against us. It's not going to be a good time for us in any form or fashion. Because even if we have to restrain them, other people get like bent out of shape about it, and it's just like I got a job to do.
I'm to the point in my life when a woman wants to act like that, or anybody, not even just a woman, but anybody, I just walk away and let whatever happens. I'll tell them a couple times, yo, cut your shit out. If they don't want to cut it out, fine. Whatever happens. I'm out. I remove myself from the situation. I don't give a fuck who it is. My mom, my sister, my wife, my kid. I don't care. You want to act like a fool, you're going to reap the fucking consequences of your actions.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling my ex. Because my son got into an altercation. He's 5. And one of the girls at his school. And my ex was like, she told him, oh, if any woman hits you, you have the right to hit her back. And I was like, I don't think we should teach him that. And she was like, why not?
I do.
Well, hold on. I understand why you think we should, but at the same time, until men don't have to deal with the consequence of that, I don't think we should tell little boys, hey, if anyone hits you as a girl, you have the right to hit them back. Because when they return as adults, they don't have that same leniency. If a woman hits them, I can't have my son say, well, I got triggered and I just blacked out and I hit her back. So I have to teach my son at an early age, hey, I'm sorry, but this is the reality. If you get hit by a woman, you need to aggressively run away. You need to aggressively go tail. But you cannot aggressively think that you get to hit her back. Even if you probably hit her back hard.
You should.
Wait, let me correct. So I'm talking about if a woman hits me, I'm hitting back. I'm not advocating that we should teach kids to do that. I was just saying that is my practice that I would do.
Yeah. Okay, I thought that too. I did, but like I said,
I'm not saying teach it to kids. Well, what you're saying is probably much better to teach.
The way
things are now.
Look, the way my dad always taught me is you don't lay a hand on a woman, but you don't sit there and let her beat the fuck out of you.
Right.
You know, don't let her lay hands on you. Like if anything, you restrain her though. You don't physically hit her in any shape or form.
How do you restrain a woman who's hitting you, sir?
It's not too hard.
Most women are small. Like my wife.
I worked in a psych ward. It took multiple staff sometimes.
I mean, all it would take is to give her a good bear hug and wrap my legs around her, and she'd be all right.
Unless you're a Viking and you're dating Asian women, I do not see this happening.
Dude,
working.
I mean, look, I'm 6'3". I'm 175 pounds. My wife's 5'5". And weighs like maybe 120. So it's not like she's a big woman.
Okay. I want you to ask your wife if this is okay. Can you go ahead and just date black women for about, let's say, 3 months? And you try the same scenarios of calming them down that you do with your wife.
We're talking about a white woman here. A black woman, that's a whole different ballgame, man.
Y'all stereotyping?
I watched my friend's mom.
Well, they wanted us to see race.
Wait. Well, white women flip out too.
I watched my friend's mom. She was pregnant, right? She was like 8 months pregnant. She had a warrant out for arrest, right? The cop showed up. She was walking down the street and the cops like see her, slow rolled her and see her. Well, she took off running, right? Ran up into this house, like this random fucking house, an apartment building, right? And hid. Dude, the cops got up there and fucking tased the shit out of her. I was like, what the? As she was trying to jump out the damn window. Like, I'm
God
like, what are
damn.
you doing? Like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what the fuck?
Well,
Oh, fuck. It was
any
hilarious.
interaction that we have with women can lead us into prison, so that's why we have to be careful.
Well, I mean, that is true. I mean, it's very, very true.
It's moniker of, oh, he hit his girlfriend or he hit his wife or whatever. Like, you
I
got to
mean,
fight off some
let's
really
face
bad
it.
things that could happen to you in prison.
If you
So
piss a woman
that's
off,
why you shouldn't even put yourself in a situation.
and it happens, if you
Yeah.
piss a woman off, and she's with, and she gets one of her friends to go along with it, right? As long as she has somebody to collaborate what she's saying, you're fucked. Even if you really didn't do it, you're fucked. You know what I mean?
Hey, Chuck.
It's
Hey,
very,
hey,
very hard. Chuck, buddy, how are you?
what, what's up, guys? Doing good. Where you at in Germany, area wise?
Berlin.
Oh, okay, you're up north.
Berlin. But how do we, yeah, like I live in a village outside Berlin. So like it takes me 10
Okay,
minutes to get into the city on the train.
gotcha.
So as fathers, or I don't know if you guys are fathers, like what should we be teaching our teen boys how to deal with women
How to
Oh,
how to
you
deal with
Mike
aggressive
again.
to them?
We lost you.
Am I kind of teaching it?
Jason, your
Uh,
mic's doing it again, really bad.
can't get a word.
Yep, we're
Nothing.
not catching anything. We heard the part about what we should be teaching our kids, but that's nothing after that.
Hey, Browns boy, come on up and talk about it.
Well, I'm
as,
gonna save the Browns boy thing for later, but I
as
do want to
Oh,
fathers,
okay.
talk today, Lanza, and we can talk off stream too if you want.
Yeah, something's
so
up.
what were you saying, Jason? Oh, damn.
He probably had connection.
Yeah, he got that
Those
foreign
German,
internet. You know how that is.
yeah, that
So
German internet.
what's your feelings on renewable energy?
There
I
is
have
garbage.
positive. If we
I,
can
I
find a way
think
to do it, then
it's
yeah, that's great.
yeah. I think alternative sources of energy are good to explore.
What
Whatever you think
about
about the environmental argument and global warming, it doesn't even matter. If you are able to recycle your materials and cause less damage even to your local surroundings, what's the argument against that? Like, I get that a lot of
recycling?
people
No,
have
I'm
an
not
argument
arguing against
against,
recycling.
Oh, it was the energy market I got a
well, I
problem
don't like the
with.
way that they prop the energy market up. Absolutely, and I would agree with you on that, Chuck. But my
Well,
point is more to this. It's like there's no reason why we shouldn't seek out more eco-friendly ideas, so long as they're
Yeah,
not garbage,
I thought we
right?
Well,
were
it's
yeah.
like,
like here they've put up these wind turbines, and the sad part is none of the power from the wind turbines actually supplies the state of Maine. Like at least in this area, supplies the state with any power from
Well,
them. They all go to Canada.
Uh,
technology
that's weird.
on wind turbines hasn't changed since they came out. Is the problem the
Uh,
efficiency?
I mean, they just put
yeah, they're
up.
really inefficient.
They're putting up 6 brand new ones in 14 sites altogether, and they got 6 of them up right now
Just go
in this
check
new
out
site.
the dead birds when they do put it up.
Well, it's like they're trying to do offshore windmills,
Yep.
and there's been this whole big deal about Maine, what Maine fishermen, any pretty much lobster fishermen, about the whales getting wrapped up in the rope and how you can't have no dead whales, but yet all these green energy offshore windmills, they've put in a permit to NOAA for an allocation for up to 2 dead mammals per year. And if there's only,
Yep.
you think about it, if there's only, they say like 54, 54 humpback whales or whatever the whale is, particular whale is, that exist or is alive, in this region. I mean, if you kill 2 a year, it ain't really going to take that long to eradicate the population.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So, and I
Dolbez, come
mean,
up.
and
Oh,
since
you're on
they've done,
vacation. Never mind.
and since they've done like they've been doing the sonic blasting offshore and all
Yep.
that, and doing the sonar, they've had more sharks and whales wash up on shore than they ever have. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I think we do have to learn to live symbiotically with our environment. That's
Yeah,
and I'm
not
not
kill
some
it.
tree hugger either. I'm just saying like it doesn't make sense to be irresponsible with our technology.
I
Right.
feel like if you buy if you're an individual that purchases a house and or is building a house, then that's the time that you should put in a hybrid system, like either do solar and wind power
Well,
or
the bad
solar.
thing about solar panels, they're only about 15 to 20% efficient.
Yeah, you have to have
They
a
They
have
lot
need,
of them.
they have come up a
y-
long ways, actually, Chuck. Some of the better
Yeah.
panels, you can get way more
uh,
efficiency out of them now.
it wasn't that long ago I looked it up and the efficiency isn't very good on solar
I,
panels.
Well,
You get a
let's
lot
look
of
at it.
wasted energy.
Yeah. So
It,
Google says solar panels are generally between 15 to 20% efficient, but some can
yep,
be as high as 22.8%.
that's still not very good though, out of
I
a
don't
well,
know.
I mean,
100%.
it's
Yeah.
also dependent on how your setup is too, and how many batteries you have, and what's the load you're running off of it, and all that. That's why I said a hybrid system. You should never just have one system. If you're doing an off-grid system, you should always have two systems going at the same
There,
time.
there's no such thing as off grid anymore.
Well, I mean, you can. There's quite a few off-grid places up here, like way out in the woods and shit like that. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you could, I think the most relevant way to go would be nuclear power. Because I think
well,
the last
yeah.
time I looked, it was like nuclear power is like 90% efficient. It's like
Yeah, but
hugely efficient.
Well, it's
but
like
you, what are you gonna do with the waste? Is the problem?
that
So
is
the
the
waste is
problem.
less and less of a problem nowadays because of the materials that they're using. It is still a point to be contended. Yeah, absolutely. But you also have waste in everything else. You have waste from solar power. You have a waste from the batteries. You have a waste from the plastic. You have a waste from the copper wiring, the smelting to produce the copper wiring, right? Like it's all downhill, from there. But when you're looking at just the output efficiency, it's pretty damn good.
What is?
But I do agree with the solar though, because if every home put solar on their houses, we wouldn't need as much energy from our city and local and state, power
Right,
distributors.
right. I'll agree with that. But my God, there's got to be a more efficient panel so that you don't have to put up so many of them to
Well,
get
it's
the power that you need.
well, it's like a lot of places by what is it, 2035?
You
They
cut,
want to have
you
no more combustible
you're
engines
cutting out,
sold.
Leggy.
Vehicles with gas or diesel engines in them. Like they all
Yeah.
got to be electric or some version of that. It's kind of like, and our our grid's not strong enough to support that many vehicles at once.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Well,
no
the
way.
biggest the biggest problem has always been batteries. It's always
Yep.
been batteries. Even if you were only a 20% fuel efficient solar panel, it all just breaks down into the battery. Like how well
Yeah.
does the battery hold and how well does the battery disperse
Lanza, come back.
the information.
Copper wiring. Huh?
So until we start getting
Come back,
battery
Lanza.
technology up to par, I think it's going to be a
Oh,
lot more
hell
difficult
no.
to deal with the issues that we're talking about. Because if you can't store the power efficiently, then how efficient
Sheesh, man.
the
I
way that
was
you're getting
hoping
the
Moose was
electricity
going
Yeah.
to
is
be up here.
pointless.
That's true. That's true. I agree with that.
Have you seen him today,
Oh,
Jeff?
he's doing something with his daughter, but he said he'll be by later.
Ah, because I was going to say, maybe we could coordinate the YouTube smoke session together.
Oh, oh,
Because I gotta go. The way I'm going home, I gotta go right by. I gotta go his
oh, you mean
direction.
like an in-person, like what,
Yeah, and
I've
do it
met
live on
Lucy.
YouTube.
meeting of the main chapter of Outliers? Well, I don't know if I want to claim
Yeah.
it yet. I need to see what y'all get up to first when y'all get together.
This is a good dude. I met him and his wife and his
He's good. He's
child.
just reckless.
Yep.
Hey Jeff, why did Paul discontinue his open panels on Saturdays?
I don't think. I think that was a joke. I took that as a bit. He didn't say anything to me. I think it was a little joke that started during the chat that he was just running with.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought I saw where he was there this Saturday, but maybe not.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
I've been on a few panels the last couple days and I'm sick of hearing it, but these people talking about that school incident that happened a couple days ago being staged and all this other stuff. What are your guys' thoughts?
The one that just happened in Georgia was
Yeah,
staged.
yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
internet conspiracy nonsense that happens.
And they're taking it and running with it. It's unbelievable.
I just ignore. I don't even take. That's like the National Enquirer or Weekly World News type of stuff where
Well,
they'd see the alien vampire baby. That's the level that this stuff
I
is
do
at today.
think the FBI is at fault though, because last year in May they investigated this kid for the same threat. He made the same threats last year.
Yeah.
And the kid
That's
said,
not good.
the kid told him, "Oh, I was just kidding around," and the dad told him, "I keep everything locked up," which was a lie.
Yeah.
In fact, the firearm he used, his dad bought it for him for Christmas.
Well, I
This
wonder
past-
if when they investigated the first time, if it was just cops looking at it, or if a mental health professional came in there and evaluated as well.
The FBI came in because of the threat. So
But
I don't
they
know.
might not catch the mental, and so they ruled everything like, okay, it's clear, there's no danger, but they're not going to catch the mental health stuff, like the mental health danger.
Yeah, I don't think they brought in the specialty team out of Quantico or
So
wherever.
they evaluated for like immediate threat. The guns are secure. He doesn't have the ability to do this, but the mental health thing was the threat, like the ongoing threat.
I would say so. But it's unbelievable how many people get off on that. What did you call it? Internet conspiracy, Jeff? It's amazing. Yeah. Is that a sign of a mental issue?
No, I think people have always been that way. There's always been a certain percentage of humans that are going to think in very imaginative ways.
Well, if you think about it, we have logical fallacies for a reason. Like we understand that the human brain is a very deeply flawed thing, and we've created these logical fallacies to be able to identify when those happen, like personal incredulity, right? If you have a personal incredulity, just because you believe something doesn't mean that it's actually true. You know what I mean? Right. So if you believe that the Earth is flat, that's a personal incredulity because you're ignoring any other evidence, right? You're just going with what you believe, and what you believe isn't always true.
Got it.
Yeah.
I was beginning to think I was the odd man. I'm going.
You
are, my God,
Chuck, but
I am.
Not for that.
I'm the odd man.
Who are the people that are pushing this narrative that it was a conspiracy or that it was staged?
Some of the where was I at today? I have to go look now.
Didn't they do that? Yeah, the crisis actors. Didn't they do that with one of those other school shootings?
Yeah,
Sandy.
It was Sandy Hook.
It's mistrust. There's a lot of mistrust for some reason underlying it. They just don't trust anything that they're presented with. They think it's all a deception.
Yep, they disregard everything.
Yep.
and make up their own narrative.
Well, it's like so. The first question you have to ask in a conspiracy is a very important question, which is how many people does it take to keep a secret?
Mm,
Right. Two,
yep.
and you still have to kill the other one. So like these people that breed these conspiracy theories, they forget that people don't stay quiet. I mean, I work in a field where we have security clearances, right? Because there's an actual punishment behind that. Like we can
Yep.
spend 10 years in prison or even a lifetime in prison, depending upon how much information we give out.
Exactly.
And it's like
Just because you have a clearance of some sort doesn't mean you're necessarily entitled to that
Yeah.
classified information
Need to
if
know,
it doesn't
yeah, it's
pertain to you.
compartmentalized. Everything is
Yep.
compartmentalized now.
Exactly.
It's no longer,
Because
well,
how it was put
I
to
have
me when
top
I was
secret
in the
clearance,
Air
so I
Force
should do
is
this. Yeah, it's not
exactly.
if I
You have a
if I
top
have top
secret
secret clearance, I don't get access to information that's not within my field of scope. Right.
Exactly.
So if I work in the
Exactly.
aerospace industry and there's something top secret on the space side, I don't get honorary privileges to know what that is. There's very few
Yep.
clearances that have that. Even what is it? TSSCI doesn't even have
Yep.
that opportunity. But
Like
Only
and
the
if I'm
information they need.
yeah,
and if I'm not mistaken, if you switch your career field or whatever, you also have to get a different you have to be recertified again. Am I
um,
wrong?
no, you don't
Like
have to be. All they do is they change the criteria for your security clearance. So if you went from aerospace to like military, right, they would immediately restrict access to aerospace unless it has something to do with what your job is in the military. But it's kind of convenient because once you get that security clearance, whatever level that is, so like I have a very specific type of security clearance, which is kind of special access clearance for particular programs, right? But I don't get information on other programs that are still in the same classification as mine is,
yeah,
because there's
exactly.
not a need to
Right.
know basis, right? It's all need to
Exactly.
know. So if you don't need to know it, then it doesn't pertain to you. You don't get that information. The security clearance used to be like a hall pass, and now it's more like okay, this person is vetted to know specific things, but they don't need to know other things that are unrelated to their industry.
Right.
So it's changed in the last couple of years, and Trump did actually one thing that I really liked, because I'm not a huge Trump fan, but what he did do is he restricted your security clearances to 2 years. Once you
Oh,
leave the
really?
industry, once you leave whatever industry you're in, you lose your security clearance after 2 years. Because what was
Mm.
happening is these people with security clearances were then going out and getting contract jobs, and then they would stay in the industry forever and ever and ever, and it was
And
a
they
serious
had
problem.
access to the information. Yeah, I know what
Well,
you're
we
talking
were paying
about.
contractors ungodly amount of money, like an ungodly amount of money.
Oh yeah, yeah, billions that the programs.
Um,
Yeah.
Andrew Bustamante covered this in one of his podcasts that he was talking to somebody. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, I actually appreciated that Trump did that. That was one of the good things that he did.
Hmm.
But when you're talking about conspiracies, there's okay, well, how many people can keep this a secret? Because if you've got, this is why I don't believe in like the kind of widespread voter fraud that is being promoted out there, is because you'd have to tell me that every single person involved either knew about it, didn't know about it. There's just a lot of unknowing in a lot of these arguments. I heard a lot of, don't get me wrong, the Trump assassination was really, really interesting from the perspective of like
Oh,
so many failures on every single aspect of what happened. I mean, I don't like Trump, but I don't want to see him assassinated. But there were
well,
so many clusterfucks of information. There was
well,
But you have to
there's a
admit,
miscommunication.
story that came out a couple days ago that most of the agents that were assigned that day were from the Homeland Security, and they showed them an hour and a half video on how to protect the president, and that was the only training they got.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I'd have to see evidence of that. But the main thing here is I also know that as a former president, you don't have the same top tier level of security that you did when you were president. But also on top of that, if it was a conspiracy, right, and it was a staged conspiracy, you don't send a 20-year-old kid out there who was known
Oh,
to be a horrible shot to try
yep.
and hit somebody in the head. That's not how that
But
fucking
you have to
works,
admit,
people.
the United States has tried coups before, though, and they
Yeah, but they
failed.
wouldn't do it this way. This
Now,
was
Well,
a
do I
you never
think
bad.
know. You never
do I
know.
think
Well,
JFK was?
Plausible
I absolutely
deniability.
think JFK
it,
was killed by the
I
government.
don't. I don't think probable.
Yeah. But
Oh, I'll
even then, I
agree
have to
with.
admit to myself that, even though it appears that it could be a conspiracy, is not evidence of one.
Exactly.
Never attribute to malice what you can attribute to
Yeah.
ignorance.
Yeah.
It's Hanlon's razor. Like if you keep in mind Hanlon's razor, a lot of things start to make a little bit less sense and a little bit more sense.
But
And
like the
it seems
ordinary
like
person is not going to keep in mind Hanlon's razor because they don't know any of that stuff. They just go with whatever makes sense to their brain in the moment.
ordinary people claim they
Exactly.
want to be smart but don't do anything about it.
Maybe it's done in Kruger because I think they think they're being smart. They just don't know where the limits of smart actually are.
Yeah,
That's a
just
possibility.
Like some of them think just reading an article is being smart as opposed to
exactly.
watching it on
Ex-
Yeah.
TV or a video.
Yeah.
It's what you do with the information that makes you smart,
Yeah.
not to be able to
And how you
regurgitate.
evaluate it, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like it. So if you read an article or you watch a video snippet of some news article or news, story, are they listing their sources? That's like the biggest thing. Do they list their sources? Can you go and check the sources and then double check against those sources to see if those sources were accurate? It's like nobody takes the time to do that because you know how hard that is. That's really hard.
It's time
Like
consuming.
most
I do it
people
because
are
I'm a
not
nerd,
educated
but
to do that.
it's very
And
time consuming for other people.
a lot of articles I'm finding, if you look at the fine print at the bottom, it says that AI helped generate the article. I'm like,
Oh
oh
yeah,
Lord.
yeah, yeah. That's a thing. I've actually tried that. I actually wrote an article. I was going to publish it, and then at the end of the article, I was going to say the majority of this article was generated by AI and very little input done on me except for a little bit of editing to
Yep.
show how easy it is to appear intelligent and appear to be doing what you're supposed to be doing, but you're not. Does that make the
Exactly.
article that the AI wrote any less interesting or pertinent? No. But I don't like being lied to. That's the number one thing. I don't like being lied to. And if
Exactly.
AI generated it, was the information that the AI was using and incorporating, was
Was
that accurate? I don't know because it didn't list the sources. So it's
somebody programmed it. Yep.
yeah. I mean, and we all know human beings are deeply flawed, creatures. But the whole conspiracy thing really, dude, that drives me absolutely nuts. Because I like a good conspiracy just as much as anybody else. I think that JFK was assassinated by our government, but I don't have any evidence of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, until they release the rest of the papers, we won't know.
Yeah, which is crazy because they still haven't. But
Well,
it's like
Biden put another seal on it.
yeah, that's crazy. I wonder if Trump did too. But
Trump was going to release.
So
them
it's
all.
a secret that like everybody's been keeping all these years,
yeah, like that's
Yep.
confirmed. We
even
know
though
that there's
we
information they're not
can't.
giving us.
Like that's the argument against conspiracy theories, but we have a live one here.
Oh, I'll
But,
agree.
yeah.
That one
Well,
is
it's like
alive.
Jimmy Hoffa, all the theories about him.
Mm. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I mean, there's the theory that was debunked about him being in the Giant Stadium. Then there's the theory about him being ground up as sausage. Then there's one where him being thrown into the Hudson River. The Hudson
Yeah.
River. There's all kinds of different stories about it. Him taken out to the middle of the ocean and had cement shoes. Like, you ask, there's a million and one theories about what
Oh,
happened to him.
yeah, they're saying he's
Yeah.
even in a bridge foundation in was it
Or
New York?
how about Carol Baskin? She killed her husband.
Mhm. Well, that's the
You
thing
know?
about conspiracy theories, and it's kind of the hook of the conspiracy theories is that most of the time the possibilities are actually possible. Like it's possible that he's in a bridge pylon, or he's somewhere, or whatever, or
Oh, 100
there's always
percent.
some kind of like tidbit of reality that we can see within the conspiracy theory. You know, I get
Yep.
why some people are questioning why the flag on the moon waves, but when someone actually explains the physics of it, you understand it better. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so it's just like conspiracy theories have always bothered me from that perspective, where it takes.
Well, you know Woody Harrelson's dad was a hitman, right?
I know he's in prison for something. I don't remember what it was for,
Well,
but I think you're right.
he's in he was there when JFK got assassinated.
Oh no, shit.
They got him on video. Yeah, one
That's
of them
crazy.
films.
Huh. That's fucking. That's fucking weird, dude. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to pull somebody out of conspiratorial thinking too. You know, because they will
Well,
actively push out information that conflicts. Because they'll be like, oh well, the government released that to cause disinformation. It's a disinformation campaign. Well,
yeah,
how would you be able to tell the difference? If you can't tell me
and
how I can tell the difference, then your argument is just as moot as anything else.
and
You know,
here what
anything
I'm
that can be.
finding lately is no matter what the story is on whatever, they turn it into a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like everything's a conspiracy. I'm like, oh Lord, is this where we're going in
Yeah.
society?
Yeah. Well, I mean, news agencies
No,
and
this is
even
where
our
we've
own
always
government.
been from the beginning of time. Like when the Greeks saw the sun come up and they thought it was a chariot pulling the sun. This is not a new place. This is the same type of thinking that humans have always used. We just have other types that we can now use to
To this
refine our models
to
better.
this
But not we have those
magnitude,
at to different degrees in
Yeah,
each
they're just more
individual.
elaborate now. But what I was going to say is Peter Hitchens. It's called the Hitchens razor, I believe it was. Anything that can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So if you don't have good hard evidence, and I don't, if you've got two sides of a political party agreeing on the same thing, that's a good clue that it's probably accurate.
yeah,
Well,
I
they
agree.
both pretty much agree on the power of corporations.
How
Like
do you mean?
the both parties agree that corporations have an outsized influence in today's society.
Yeah,
And they about the time of Occupy Wall Street and Tea Party, both of those groups had grievances against the big banks.
yeah,
So there is a unifying thread against corporate and financial influence, like the outsized influence of that, and it can't seem to unify
yeah.
ever. I wonder why.
Well, I don't know why they don't ever talk about FEC versus or what was it? It was Citizens United versus FEC.
Oh,
They
Citizens
never talk
United,
about
yeah,
that. Which was it was the ruling that corporations could act as individuals in giving
dark
political
money,
money.
yeah,
And money was speech, and it could be anonymous.
Right.
So
So
you
all of
have
that stuff is a huge concern.
these new individuals that are not humans that have the power to anonymously speak and have the way more money than we do.
Well, I know too that I think the Supreme Court ruled some time back that a politician can lie and not be held responsible for what he says.
Well, their responsibility is to the people, so that they're held responsible for the battle box every election.
Right. That's what they ruled. How somebody tried to sue a congressman or a senator for something he said, and they said, "Heh, they're allowed to do that. Your regress is through the ballot box, just like you said, Jeff."
Yeah.
Well, that brings about the question of term limits, right?
I didn't hear you.
That brings about the question of term limits. I think
Ye-
one of the best things that we ever did as a country is made an amendment to presidential term limits.
Well, they should have done it to everybody, I think, not just the
Yeah,
president.
Well, we have term limits for representatives already. It's built
yeah.
into
It's
the
Congress. It's
election
2
system,
years.
and I don't want term limits for the Supreme Court. I want their accumulated wisdom of experience because they get the broad perspective over time the longer they're there, and I think that's
I
better for the
I
country.
agree with that.
Or I'm going to push back on that. It's more opportunity for influence of big corporations and whatnot to influence their decisions.
How so? And
Well,
how
if
do you
you've
show that stuff anyway? If it's happening now, how would you show it?
what do you mean?
Like, let's say basically you're saying there's the potential to not trust your justices, but there's the
Okay, so
potential to not trust your reps or not trust your president as well. But
yeah,
I
so
for the most part, trust all of that until I have a reason to not to. So I'm assuming that they're going to be in there full term, doing the best at their job. So my
so
model is I would want the people, assuming that they're there to do the best job, to be able to do it for longer than just a few terms, because there's you gain something from the body of experience you build up doing it.
yeah. So I've got a couple of arguments against that. One was our founding fathers didn't want people serving lifetimes in Congress. That's why they weren't paid initially.
I was talking about the court, not Congress.
Yeah, I'm talking about the federal government in general. So the
Because
founding
we have,
fathers,
to me, we have term. Everything else is elected. So do we not have term limits on reps, senators, and the president already?
well, what the argument is reducing the number of times a congressperson
Oh,
can
that
run
that
for
okay. I
office.
see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
so like 10 years max or something like that.
Yeah,
Because
that
if you're in
I don't
office
know
for
if
2
I'm.
years and only 2 years, you now receive an income for the rest of your life, period. Like you get $100,000 for the rest of your life if you serve 2 years in Congress. That's ridiculous.
Well, who
You
set
know
it
what I
up that
mean?
way?
But
Is
my
that a
point,
new thing, or has it always been that way?
it's always been that way.
Oh, well, then that's
Well, I
just
mean, as
part of
long as
America.
well, I shouldn't say that. That's incorrect. I don't know how long it's been that way, but it's been that way for a while. But my main point was this: is like if you have people in there for a very very long time, you get the good old boys club, and this influences the way that we can get shit done in government, right? So if you've got a bunch of guys that have been around for a long time and they all agree we're not going to do this thing, whatever X thing is, right? And you got this new up and coming, senator or representative, and they want to change something. It's physically fucking impossible for them to do it because the rest of the group is against them.
Right.
What are the current limits set by federal, or does it go by each state?
For
Federal.
representatives, it's federal.
For both senators and reps. Do
Yeah.
senators have term limits?
6 years.
Is it 6 years?
Representatives is 2 years.
And then can they run again?
That's right.
Because
Yeah.
Louisiana had it where like you could run 2 terms, sit out an election, and then do 2 more terms, sit out, do 2 more terms.
Interesting.
So it couldn't be consecutive terms. Edwin
Huh.
Edwards was governor 4 times.
Interesting.
Well,
I
see,
mean, I got nothing against that idea yet. Seems like a rational
technically,
idea.
even though Obama, Bush, any of them that's already served 2 terms, technically they can run for vice president
Yeah.
and become president again without violating the term limit clause.
Yeah. Yep. But they can't rerun again after that. But
Right.
Yeah, those
main-
kind of term limits, yeah, I
Yeah.
probably would not be. I'd probably be open to that.
the main
I mean,
concern
that's how it
is
is now,
this.
really.
Yeah, but the main concern is this: is the more this is why we didn't want kings in the first place.
Yeah.
Right, is because the longer someone serves in positions that hold power, basically, the chances of it becoming tyrannical exponentially go up. So you
Yep.
want new, fresh blood in there. Not to mention it's supposed to be representative of the people, and people change over time, right? So,
But
what I would like is some rationality to the process rather than
But-
just whimsically doing whatever we feel like.
Do you
and just
remember-
electing
Oh,
new
I don't.
every
I don't
2
think we're
years.
doing that either. But what if the people want the same person? If it is truly the representative of the people, and they want this person representing them, 8 years, 10 years, why should they be forced to swap out somebody that's working for them that they
Well,
like?
I'm not making the argument that we have to force anybody to do anything. That's not my argument. My argument is more of a
That's
warning.
what term limits would do, though. If you have a community that wants their senator to continue serving for 10 years, a law saying he could only serve 4 would cause them to force them to swap out a senator that they really like.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, and it's a very valid point. I'm not disputing that. What I'm
So
doing is
either
I'm
way,
warning
you're going to
against the
override the
idea.
voice of the people, one way or one direction or the other. There's going to be some voice that's going to
Yeah.
be compromised.
No, this would be more of a social attitude. I'm projecting it more like a social attitude rather than legislate. I'm never on the side of more legislation. Like, I don't think we need more fucking rules. What I think is we need a more
we got
healthy dialogue
enough.
about the
I
situation.
don't have enough
Subject
faith in
matter.
social attitudes to accomplish anything enduring. So for me, if it's not a law, it's not important enough of an issue. If the goal is not to make it into a law.
You remember the actor Fred Thompson?
Yeah.
He the heavyset guy that played the DA on Law and Order. He became a
Oh yeah.
senator from Tennessee, and he quit. He went back to acting because he found out how difficult it is to do one thing in that system that you were talking
Yeah.
about there.
Well,
He got
Jesse Ventura.
frustrated and just walked away. Yeah, Ventura. Yep.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
said I
I'd
went in
probably end
there
up
to
doing
do
the same
something,
thing.
and I did it, and then I left. And that's
Yeah.
the kind of attitude that you want to have in a politician.
Well, that was George Washington too.
Yeah. Well, there was who was it that was like you should? There was one of the constituents of the government very early on that said you should just be president forever. And he was like, I'm paraphrasing a lot here, but
Washington.
He had the
George
chance
Washington,
to hang
yeah.
on to power. Like
Basically,
a lot
he
of it
said-
rested on him agreeing to
Yeah.
hand over like he agreed.
So the
And if
thing
he
is
didn't
that
do that,
someone said you should just be president forever, and he, like, Washington legit looked at this dude and he says, and again I'm paraphrasing here, he said, back the fuck off and never fucking talk to me about that ever again. Get the fuck out of here. Like, and it was one of the founding fathers that we know really well. I just wish I could remember his name. But anyways, Washington was not having any of that bullshit because he just fought the British to not do that thing. He's like,
Yep.
Are you a fucking idiot? Like, get the fuck out of here. He was pissed off, dude. It was one of the few times where people say that Washington lost his normal, composure, his much gentlemanly composure. It's one of the few times where he lost it.
It was real close to him being permanent president. I remember reading that.
Yeah. He's just like, what better system is that than the one that we just fought a war against? Like, are you an idiot? Like, did you not see what we just did? And it was crazy. But yeah, it's like this weird balance between experience, but yet understanding the danger that comes with that experience.
but again, I go back to I think the people should determine that for themselves locally. Like each region should determine how much they value experience versus how much they're threatened by consolidation of power.
We should overturn the term limits for president then.
No, I don't. I'm happy with those. I don't have an issue. The kind of term limit Steve was talking about, I don't have an issue with.
I'm just saying there's an inherent concept behind why we created term limits in the first place. And the argument for term limits is much stronger than I think than against it. Because let's just say that we go along with your argument, Jeff, and I'll give it to you. Let's say that, we have this guy in here and he's in there for 10 years and my rule is in place, right? And they can't run any longer. Well, now you've got 2 new people running for the office that this person has evacuated. I get your point where there's a concern that you're losing a lot of experience. The people liked them. They were there. They did the job that they were supposed to. But we don't know what this new person is capable of either.
That's what
right? They could do.
That's
great.
where the campaign. That's the campaign's job.
Sure, absolutely. That's how they go out there and they get their votes and yada yada yada. But my overall concern is always going to be how long has this person been in here and how many backdoor deals have they made that nobody knows
See,
about?
that seems like just mistrust, like suspicion for no reason. I just don't have that.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
That's like thinking every cop is going to be an asshole cop. I don't have suspicion for people doing their jobs unless I have a reason to have. I'm not a naturally suspicious person, and maybe I'm too overbalanced on the other end. But I don't think everybody is corrupt lizard people, but I also don't think everybody's in there like doing these perfect jobs ideally, virtuously.
I think
But if I'm
people-
going to err on the side of, because I think it's the best assumption to make if you want a stable country, is that most people have good intentions and are there to do a good job and do the right thing. Like, most people are not there to do all of this deceptive, corrupt stuff.
I don't think they intend to do it. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's people with bad
then again, I
intentions going
default
in
to
there
the
doing
adult
things.
making choices and decisions
Yeah.
theory.
I think it
So-
can be created. I think it can eventually.
But nobody can force them to make decisions or take that. There's a intentionality to that only they can do. So ultimately, they are deciding to either go the corrupt route or not. Everything else is influence or incentive.
I don't think it's black and white, Jeff. I really don't. And I don't think that that's what you're advocating for. I'm just saying I don't think it's a matter of whether this person is a good person. I think it's a matter of, does the system eventually wear them down?
Well, I didn't say good person, but do they make virtuous decisions or non-corrupt decisions? Like, it's not about like whether they're existentially good or bad or not. It's about, can you trust them to make decisions that benefit their constituents and stay within the laws, or are you suspicious that they're going to kind of skirt some of that for their own gain and enrichment? And I think most people, there's probably a little bit of that, yeah, but most people, I think, are like the guy that went in to change the one thing and then he left.
Yeah, Jesse Ventura.
So there's people that are in there, I think, with the goal of changing things or passing laws or seeing, or either being the voice of their reps or seeing the changes they want to make. But I think they're there for more than just corrupt.
Well, I'm not.
And if the
disagreeing with you on
system's
that.
wearing you down, that doesn't force you to crime. Like, just because the system's wearing you down, crime is still a choice. There's a whole bunch of other things you could do if the system's wearing you down.
Like what?
Get out of it, meditate, see a therapist. Like, crime is the only response to stress.
It's not. It's not. A lot of what they do is not a crime. I'm not talking about criminality here, Jeff. I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to get at. Again, I'm voicing a message of concern, which is the more someone stays in politics, the more I'm concerned about how corrupt they're going to be when they leave.
And I'm just trying to understand that concern, that's all.
Yeah.
Because I think corruption is a choice. And I think most people are probably not going to make that choice.
Well, I guess let's define corruption. What do you think corruption means?
Whatever
here?
you mean when you say it. Like, whatever, because it's your concern. So whatever the thing you are concerned about when you say corruption.
Okay, so let's be specific. That way, there's no miscommunications. Corruption definition. So, dishonest, fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery, is one definition. The second is the process by which something, typically a word of expression, is exchanged in its original use or meaning to one that regarded as erroneous or debased. I think I read that wrong. The process by which something, typically a word or expression, is changed from its original use or meaning to one that is regarded as erroneous or debased. So,
what are you
let's
concerned
take the
about
first one.
specifically? Whether we call it corruption or not, you're concerned that the Congress people and representatives are going to do what?
I think they're not going to vote the direction of the people that elected them. That's
But
my
then
biggest
would they
fear is
not
that
get voted out of office if they consistently did that?
I don't know. I'm not confident that they would.
I see people get voted out all the time. I don't know the specific reasons, but I see reps get swapped out all the time.
How much of what happens on Capitol Hill, either state or federal, do you know about?
Very little.
You know about every
mostly
right,
because
right,
I don't
very
go
little.
seek it out. I don't even go
Right.
look for
No
it.
one does, Jeff. No one does.
But part of it is trust. Part of it, the one reason I don't do that is because of trust. I don't go and seek out information on my local police department, fire department, anything, because I just trust that they work unless I have a reason, like I have an experience that I realize it's broken, and then I might go find out why isn't this system working. I just trusted that it was going to work.
Yeah, I think we've all come to the conclusion that you trust way more than I do, and I am very distrustful of my government.
Maybe so. And I
You know.
think I don't know how you have a long-term society with too much mistrust in it. Like
Because-
we need a society we can trust, and if we can't, I don't know how long you continue to have that society.
Okay, so the society bit is different than the government bit.
I see it as one because in America specifically, I see it as an extension of society. We the people.
So politics is supposed to be an extension of the people. It's supposed to be uphill, not downhill from politics. And somehow I think it's gotten flipped. But my point is more to this: we're supposed to distrust our government. Governments are not there for the people.
I think they are because America, and I want to determine. I don't want people to telling me what my trust obligations are. What I want to determine who I'm obliged to trust and how much, and not other people telling me you're obligated to not trust your government. I'll determine that for myself. I don't think I have a moral duty to mistrust. I think I can determine how and when to use skepticism, and I don't need that babysat for me. And that's the reaction I'm having to like phrases like that so far. Is that I have an obligation to mistrust. When to me trust is something that kind of just happens organically, it just emerges as part of the process. I don't see it as a duty or obligation.
Yeah, but
And so I don't want someone putting that on me that I didn't choose for myself.
Well, you can choose all day for yourself. That's not the argument that I'm making. I think you might be unintentionally
That we have an
misrepresenting
obligation to
my
mistrust
argument.
our.
Yeah, we do. I think we do, and even more importantly, the founding fathers did. The founding fathers were already wary of government because of the tyrannical nature of the government that they just fought against. I mean, we have the Second Amendment for a reason. It's to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. It's not hunting. So there's a lot of things like almost all of the amendments. So the interesting thing about the amendments is they're not rights that our government gives us. They're rights that our government is supposed to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
Is supposed to protect us from our government. So the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, all of the amendments are put in place to protect the people from the government because we realize that governments can and are corrupt. Can be and are corrupt. And so a lot of the complicit ideals, what they call the penumbra and emanations of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights was specifically designed to protect citizens.
And
why? Because governments are shit.
Are
They're
you
shit and they're
confident that they
shady.
successfully designed something that achieved that? Because I am.
That they designed and implemented
Yeah,
what?
so they took all of these concerns that you just, and which
Mhm.
I agree are legitimate, and they had those concerns, and they took them and they said, how can we create a system that minimizes all of these concerns? And I think they did an amazing, amazing, amazing job.
I think they did too. I don't think it's perfect. I mean, the founding documents are not perfect. That's why they're considered living documents, is so that they can be changed as needed.
Right,
Th-
but they're
that's-
perfect enough for me to lean on the side of trusting it than not trusting it.
You can trust the documents themselves. I'm saying don't trust the people
the
that run it.
document and the system of government that emerged from it, because to me I kind of see it as all one thing. So what they left us, the system we're using today that's based on, I still have trusted. I still believe that system works and that process works. So I'm less like individual politicians that may or may not be corrupt don't kind of doom pill me on the entire system and make me have this attitude of mistrust as default.
Why are you so concerned about retaining trust?
Because I think trust is important, but then you introduce the idea that we have an obligation to not trust or to be
Yes.
or to be suspicious.
Yes.
And that's like a step beyond anything that seemed reasonable to me without
The reason
without
why I advocate for that is because people give their trust too easily without evidence that they should be trusting a person. So like when you meet a person, or when I meet a person, I don't instantly trust them. I think that would be
and I
ignorant
do until I'm
and
reason not
stupid.
to. And
You
so
know?
you're left with cynicism and optimism, and I tend to be more optimistic, and other people might tend to be more cynical.
I'm
And I don't think
neutral.
either one is bad. They're probably both a little
Yeah.
off, and then you adjust as you know that person.
Well, I mean, there's a whole reason why there's a saying called "trust is earned," right? I don't
Yeah.
just give my trust out, and everybody has different different levels of trust with me. So, like, I trust you to this whatever level, and then I trust Chuck to this whatever level. They're different levels of trust. There doesn't have to be a blanket 100% trust in something, right?
I guess it's
you
trust
can be
in
gradated.
It's trust in role, strangers' abilities to fulfill certain roles. So, do I trust the people at the restaurant to give me a good dining experience? Yes. When I walk into a restaurant, I don't have to know anything about them. There's just this kind of general trust that they're going to provide the experience that they communicate that they're there to provide. And until something counters that and gives me a reason to question it, I just kind of walk in with that assumption. And so I
Yeah,
trust total strangers, if they're in certain roles, to be faithful to those roles, more or less, on average.
yeah. And so maybe I can put it this way. I think there's different types of trust when we're talking about that. So we trust society that we're going to go to the restaurant, we're going to eat our food, and we're not going to get shot. That's a trust, right? We trust that that's not going to happen. We
Yeah.
also have other kind of trusts like evidentiary trust, which means okay, we have enough evidence to trust that this thing is exactly what they say that it is, right? I trust that my government has my best hopes, my best well-being in mind. But that doesn't mean that I have the evidence to trust them fully,
Yeah,
or that
I'm
I
not
should
saying
trust
full.
them in a particular way where if I go to court, do I trust that the judge is going to be fair and equal? No, I don't, because if he's had a bad day, I know for a fact it's going to affect his judgment. They've done studies on this, where if a judge has a bad day, he's more likely to dole out worse and more severe sentences. Like, human beings are absolutely shitty fucking people a lot of the time, but they have an incredibly immense capacity to do good.
But
And
I
that's
want to
how
be
I view the
trusted to do
government.
my job, so I give people that trust. So if a politician's there to do their job, and I don't have a reason to think he's not, I'm going to give him the same trust that I would want from him if he came to me for any of my services.
I don't disagree with you on that, Jeff. That is not my point. My point is healthy suspicion is perfectly rational.
I guess that's the debate. When is suspicion, like, where's the health versus unhealth? Like, healthy suspicion, I agree. It's just where's that line? And I think
Yeah.
it's different for each of us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust the government to protect my gun rights at all.
I see, I do.
I don't at all. I mean, you live in a state that is evidence that they don't.
I think there's still carry here for Washington State. For a state like this, you would think it'd be way worse than it is.
Washington is listed as one of the worst states for gun legislation.
They've had some gun challenges since I've been here, and
That's good.
It's come down more or less on the side of the gun.
Oh, that's right, because Washington. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right, because Washington is one of those states where it's like 90% conservative and 10% like liberal in the cities. That's why half of
The
like
cities run
Washington State
everything.
wanted to secede from Washington and join
Yeah.
Idaho.
They do.
I forgot about that. But even so, I mean, there's a lot of things that. So, perfect example. In California, you can't own a tractor that is older than a certain age, because they say it emits too much pollutants. Well, if you're poor, you can't just go out there and buy a $500,000 or $1 million fucking tractor, right? To me, that is a direct reflection on how they see us.
But is
They
that
don't care.
corruption? And is there anything in the political process that wouldn't be able
I'm
to
not saying
address
that's
that if there's
corruption.
enough will?
I'm not saying that's corruption. I'm saying that's our elected leaders not being connected with the people that they say they represent and understanding their concerns.
Then the
That's
voters
a
need
big
to
problem.
elect different leaders. The
Absolutely.
locus of responsibility is on the voters.
Yeah. What if you're outnumbered though? That's the only part of our government that we have that I have an absolute issue with. Is we're a constitutional republic, and what that means is that we're supposed to protect the rights of the few against the tyranny of the masses. That's
I
like
think we do a decent
big
job
deal.
of that.
Does it make sense? Does it make sense when you talk about the word trust, and you know that there's levels to it? Like for instance, you go to a place and you run into somebody, and you've seen them there before. So obviously, you do the same thing at the same time, at the same place, and so you say hi. You know, it's like, well, this person does the same thing at the same time at the same place that I do it. So at least we have that in common. We have structure, we have this location, right? And so you say hi. And then the next time it'd be like, yo, well, you're sitting alone. And I usually sit alone, but hey man, what's your name? Blah, blah, blah. You get to know somebody, right? And then you have this this coffee shop or this bar or this restaurant buddy. And you get to know them, and next thing you know, it's like, hey, you know, I'm moving and I'm trying to collect as many people as possible. You know, if you're free and able, you know, pizza and beer, if you know, you help me put my stuff on the back of the U-Haul. And then it goes from there and it goes from there. So trust, as far as the levels are concerned, it's built, right?
Yes.
But then you transform that friendship analogy into the government analogy, and it's like, oh, well, they made it to this spot, and then they made it to this spot, and then they made it to this spot. Some of the people that are running, people never heard of before they got to some of those top tiers. And it's like, oh, well, I know this person from this state, or I know this person from this policy, but you don't know these people from Adam. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the building of trust, as far as the government's concerned, I think it comes down to a transparency aspect. Because if we meet at the coffee shop or the bar or whatever, and you ask me to help you move, you are inviting me into your home to touch your stuff. It might be my work, but I'm going to see how you live. I'm going to see the stuff that you got. And then maybe I'm going to need to move. And I'm going to be like, well, I helped you move. Same deal over here, pizza and beer. You know, just pick the boxes up, put them in the truck, and blah, blah, blah. That's a bit more intimate of earning trust and understanding who people are and how they live versus just, you know, oh, I'm a fan of this athlete. I'm a fan of this athlete. I'm a fan of this athlete. 20 years later, you find out they did some gruesome shit in their past. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's because you don't know these people. You just see them when the camera puts them in your face. And I think transparency in politics should be utmost. Like, I know there's some things that they have to do to keep us in defense. But at the same time, when you're talking about these social policies, things that become law, that some things that should, it's already written in so much vague in the Constitution anyway, that it's like, hey, what is leading to this this trying to tell us like how to walk and how to talk and how to treat each other? People are going to treat each other how they're going to treat each other. You'll never stop a criminal. You'll never stop a racist. You'll never stop a bigot. You'll never stop none of that, because that person's going to wake up in the morning and being like, hey, if somebody that resembles something like this does the slightest thing, like pulls out in traffic to make you have to tap your brakes, or gets in line in front of you and actually has to ask a question to the cashier or something like that, those people are going to be those people regardless.
Yeah.
And so when you try to do the transparency with the government to get the overstep to where you're going to ban books, which I disagree. I don't care what the book is. Don't ban it. But give education on what's out there in the literacy courses. You know what I'm saying? To be like, hey, yeah, you read this book, but don't just read the book and take it, verbatim.
Yeah, I don't know
I
why
would
people are trying to babysit people from ideas. That's so
I don't know.
anti democracy, like what's required for democracy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
And it goes the same thing because you talk about, I think it was mentioned about like the gun laws. Well, I believe guns are a good thing considering what bad people are willing to do. And bad people will always have what's banned. But at the same time, education is the key for good people because good people will get educated on it. They will follow the law to the very T. And should they ever need it or, you know, for self-defense or for hunting or for it just enjoyment, they're going to do it the right way.
Yeah. Well,
But then there
on
will
top
be
of that,
on the street.
yeah. Well, on top of that too, Jeff, is that I'm not telling you to distrust or trust anybody, but when it comes to the government, like even the way that it was structured was intentionally structured to promote almost a kind of distrust of the government. So you have separation of powers, you have checks and balances, you have oversight, you have a Bill of Rights. Like all of these things were put into place because the founding fathers did not trust government. They just really did not. And the argument that, well, we can just vote them out is it's relevant. It is relevant. But there's too many concerns that I have with that, which is one, where's the oversight? Two, what information am I getting that I can actually make that decision? Because if you're withholding information from me, I can't consent to voting for you, right? And then on top of that, it's we have government agencies that are completely ran by unelected officials that have a direct impact on the lives of Americans. Number one, ATF. The ATF does not have a single elected official on their in their organization. Not one. They choose
But there's
to make
there's an
laws however they
accountability
want.
somewhere,
No.
somewhere in the org chart.
So
They're
the only
accountable to
accountability,
some other department that's accountable to something that the people's accountable to.
so they're accountable to Congress.
Okay.
That's it. And Congress doesn't
Yes,
get
that's
shit
enough.
done.
That's one of our levers.
No, it's not. Because we
Yes.
have such a bifurcated political system now that if there are enough people on one side, that's who gets the power.
Well, that's just
in a
politics, though.
situation.
If they're accountable to Congress, they're accountable to us. But us is very diverse. So maybe your part of the us is not the one influencing things right now, but that doesn't mean corruption. Or
I think it
even a reason
absolutely
not to
does.
trust.
I think it does. Why does somebody want to control my actions with an unregulated, unoverseen government agency? Like
Well,
half the reason why the
they have a
ATF is in
ton
hot
of
water
government.
right now is that they've been making decisions without legal authority for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. Right now, they make these choices about bump stocks or
That was where Chevron decision came
Right,
in.
but even if all
Yeah.
that's true, if they're accountable to Congress, you still have power over that. Just put in
How-
different people, they're gonna go and fix all that.
So if that was
That's
true,
where the
then
solution
ATF
would have
wouldn't
to
have been
come
away
from
a long
anyway, no
time
matter
ago.
what. It would have to come from Congress.
Yeah, but the problem is that Congress can't just dissolve a government agency like that.
I didn't
Yeah,
propose
because
that as
it's
the
the
solution. I was
executive-
going to address. I thought they would address the specific issues that
It's
you
the
had with the
executive
agency.
branch. Yeah, they can't touch
Yeah.
it.
The ATF shouldn't even exist.
Well, it existed. However, it came to exist. I'm sure it was emerged out of the process. So it would have to be dissolved in the same way.
It would be more difficult. Have you ever heard that old saying? It's more difficult to dissolve a law than it is to make a new amendment.
But that
Like-
doesn't mean I'm looking at it from an empowerment. But that doesn't mean that we don't have the power to do it. And as long as we have the power to do it, until
Well,
that attempt is exhausted, then I'm still in control.
A
And
good
I think
case
that's why I
scenario-
trust, because ultimately I still feel in control. So if things get too bad, I could step in and use my power as a voter, as a citizen. So
Yeah.
I still feel like the power rests with me, and I don't feel as disempowered.
Take marijuana, for example. It's federally illegal. However, the states have decided, well, we're not going to follow that federal rule or whatever you want to call
They
it.
made some kind of deals with the government because they had to still use the banking system.
Chuck, did you
You
bring that up
can't
for my
use the bait.
sake?
Hey,
These are
Dom.
No, no,
more
no, no,
reasons
no,
for me
no,
to
no.
distrust.
I was just the thing Jeff talking about where things can be changed, and that's one area where the
Like
state
even the
starting to
DEI
make some
stuff, I
change.
hate it, but that's still part of the process. And if I want to get
Ugh.
rid of it, I need to get people in there that are going to do something different. But that was the will of the people here in Washington State and whatever federal departments, etc. I don't think it's anything that's being imposed from without. It's happening within the political process. And I don't think anybody imposed the ATF from without. It grew out of a need for regulating this kind of stuff, and it emerged from the political process. And I'm sure there's mechanisms of accountability, and if it's accountable to Congress, we have the power to influence and change it. So
Hey,
that's
Jeff,
why I don't worry.
can I ask your interpretation or definition between trust and faith? Now, I talked about it before where in my interpretation, faith is knowing that when I get out of bed in the morning and I throw my legs over the side of the bed, I'm going to find floor. There's going to be floor there. So I trust that there is a structure that's going to prevent me from just falling into the ether.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have faith.
I mean, I have faith. I have faith that it's
Yeah.
there. Do I trust it? Well, I don't know. The structure could be damaged. There could be something.
Yeah, but I don't assume it is. I assume they have it in working condition, unless I find out
Right.
otherwise. I just
So what I'm
assume
asking is,
professionals keep things working.
so what I'm asking is, wouldn't it be more accurate to state that I have faith in the Constitution? I have faith in our political system.
Yeah. You could call
However,
it faith.
I have trust issues with how it's being managed, with the individuals who are operating it. I have faith that our Constitution is the best form of democracy that is on the planet. I don't trust the individuals who are in charge of it. How do you feel about that?
Is that to me or to Steve? Because
It was just a general question to throw out there.
Yeah, I mean, that works for me.
Or maybe
I can't speak for Steve. I assume Steve has faith in our system and government, but maybe not trust.
That's what I'm saying. There's certain individuals.
I have faith and trust, and maybe Steve has faith, but no, like low trust. And I have faith and a little bit higher trust. But we both have faith and believe in the system and the potential of it, even if it's not perfect right now.
But do you see how those two words, while being very similar, have two opposite meanings? To have faith in something and to trust something are completely different.
Yeah, I see how they could add nuance to the conversation.
So that was just my 2 cents. I'm going to go back to my leftover Chinese food.
Oh man, that sounds good.
I hate reheating Chinese food because you always find that cold spot in the middle.
I eat it cold sometimes for that reason.
Egg rolls I'll eat cold. Everybody looks at me sideways. I eat cold egg rolls.
Oh yeah, I eat cold egg rolls. Yeah, 2020. I think that's a good point. I think 2020 gave a lot of, including me. That's when I saw the DEI stuff. I think a lot of people in 2020 saw one thing or another because so much happened that year that might have shaken their faith and their trust.
And I'm glad he brought that argument up of faith and trust. But yeah, I don't trust the government. I just don't.
I don't either. But running around, living in this country with so much distrust of our basic fundamental political system is not healthy.
Right. That's.
You can
I
still
don't
have
think it is
faith.
either.
You can still have faith in the system.
I think if there's real problems, fix them. We still have that power. But
I don't
other than
trust
that,
Right. I don't trust the individuals who broke it, and I don't trust some individuals to fix it. But I do believe that the system, I have faith that the system it will work as the way it's intended, barring all these other obstacles that we've suddenly have appeared, over the last 20 years.
and just because people that have different values than you get power and change things in a way you don't like, that isn't corruption either. That's still our political system at work.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people think if their guy doesn't win, that the system is corrupt. It's evidence that the system is corrupt.
That's how we've survived this long. It's just currently now, with the political state that we're in, that candidates are making claims or policy that we, as educated individuals, and it goes back to this generation, we are, with our time and our history and our education, we can see that these policies are clearly in opposition to the general framework of the Constitution. And
that's what we have the courts for, which I'm hoping this will end up there at some point so we can resolve this.
I see something
was specifically anti-constitutional.
I see something too, and I think it's in cohorts with the media, and that's what they call like the political theater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the trust comes from when you think that good people that prove themselves are going to do things behind the scenes that actually make a difference. Like, yeah, this policy might come up, but then it's going to be public, and the entire world is watching what we do with our public policy and how we handle our decorum. You don't see shoes being thrown in Congress and stuff like that. So the main of that,
I don't know. Wait for Marjorie Taylor Greene; she'll do it.
Right, but the maintaining of that theater, and then you mix it with the media, where the media over the past couple of years has said that our youth are too fat and lazy to have to join the military. And when you mix those things together, I would never, even with a statement in a news article like that says our youth are too fat and lazy
and racist. They're telling our youth all kind of things about themselves.
I would still never bet against the United States military.
Oh,
I would exactly. So they can come up with these policies of the DEI and programs to make sure kids are eating right in school, and they that's all superficial.
They fed us crap in school. Why are they suddenly concerned about our nutrition? They taught us nutrition class, and they fed us crap at lunch.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. When the main talking points that are spread across the world news about the United States are fat and lazy kids can't join the military, they're trying to fix their diets in school, kids are only rich kids get to eat because the schools charge them money, which isn't necessarily true everywhere. All that stuff, that's all theater propaganda being sent over there to make us them think that our military is weak because we have such a safe zone here where the majority of people don't see violence. The majority of people walk down the street. Majority of people have a sidewalk.
That's why words are violence now, and thoughts and vibes.
And that's why they sell, hey, don't come to America because look at Chirac. That's propaganda. Chicago is beautiful. I don't even have to go to know that I could go to Chicago and it be just fine. I could go to New York City and it would be beautiful. Now I'd have to mind my business, right? But if you looking behind the curtain of what the media shows, and they've proven this in China, and they've also proven it in North Korea, that like when journalistic tourists go there, they are surrounded by an entourage of escorts, and there are places where they won't let them go because that's where the real people live. That's where there is no money. That's where they don't want to show you, and it's
Protected
documented
villages.
evidence. Yeah,
Yeah,
but we
I don't think
do
the U.S.
here.
is that. I don't
They-
think there's that level of deception on the U.S. public like there's in North Korea. Like they're staging
no,
a
it's
whole fake society for these people.
No,
no.
there's not. I don't think that's what he's saying.
No, but that's
what I'm
not
getting
what
at.
he's saying. But that is what a lot. It seems like a lot of people think the U.S. is doing to its populace.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is rather than saying, oh, you know, North Korea has its fair share of places with no electricity and showing they guard you from it. Whereas in the United States, even the own United States media propagates the violence in Atlanta, the violence in Miami, the drugs coming over the borders, the immigrants. They're trying to say that America is a hot fucking mess when honestly, yeah, bad people are going to do bad things, and when you have more people, you're going to see a higher number of bad things. But by percentages, nah, the government's doing less, and it's just bad people doing more to each other. But all of these places where they're propagating that it's so bad, they're beautiful places.
Yeah.
I
think Jeff-
on some of that, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I think Jeff. What I guess the way that I would change my argument is by making a statement, which is, I hope for the best and I plan for the worst.
That
And-
seems wise.
That's
Yes.
kind of basically what my
I
argument.
just think
is.
you're
It's like,
yeah, and it's
I-
that sense of the worst is subjective. So we're all planning for our own sense of the worst.
Yeah, I mean, I want to believe that our government is ran by inherently good human beings. I want to hope for that, but I plan for what happens when it's not, and that's
And I
the
believe
big
that's
difference.
the
It's not.
that's the faith I was talking about.
Well,
Just
good,
figuring-
because
Yeah,
if it turns out not to be, I'm gonna show up at your house. Oh, good thing you did all this planning, Steve.
We'll save you a sleeping bag, dude.
Okay,
But,
you can even put me outside. Just
No, I'm not going to. Yeah, probably Jeff. But these guys are bringing up really great points, and my big thing is I was raised on a foundational Christian faith, even though I'm an atheist now. The Mormon faith specifically is very, very constitutional. They really love the Constitution. As a matter of fact, there's some sects within Mormonism that believe that God created the United States for the Mormons. But I digress. I'm not going to get into that. But I was taught from a very, very early age how to appreciate and how to love our country, the Constitution, its founding documents, the concepts and precepts behind its creation, all of those things. And part of that was also, a healthy distrust of government. I mean, even Ronald Reagan said the scariest 9 words in the English language is, "I'm from the government. I'm here to help." Yep. Because every time the government tries to help, they just end up making it fucking worse. But I think there's some level of healthy distrust of the government. Otherwise, the founding fathers wouldn't have created the system that they did create. They understood the reality that these things happen. Even with the best intentions, it still happens.
so you think
I'm sure that there was some really well-intentioned communists, Jeff, but 150 people, 150.
Yeah, but we have like
people died under
200 something
communism.
years of their system, and it hasn't turned into anything like the communist system. Now, you think they handed us the system and said, "Here's this system. We put all our work into it, but don't trust it."
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying they built a system that was dependent upon the idea that you shouldn't trust the government because the government isn't a person. It's not a thinking, feeling human being. It's a conglomeration. It's an aggregate of the American people.
I agree.
We are the people, and they gave us this is your country. You are governing it. You are self-governing. And here is a set of tools that we're giving you to do this in the most effective way that we can think of for you to do this. And so far, those tools, we've been able to take those tools and continue to maintain this self-governing society.
Because
there's nothing that the government can do that the people can't do better.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
But
can't undo, or can't like change or
Correct.
fight or resist or whatever, especially because they gave us the 2A in there.
Yeah.
I think the value of the Constitution is, you're absolutely right. It's simplicity.
Mhm.
It's bare bone. It's a skeleton. And over the 200 years, we've been throwing slabs of meat on top of it to try to dress it up to make it more appealing to everyone. When it wasn't designed to be appealing to everyone, it was designed to be a skeletal structure designed to provide the most
And we
fair
are
and
the,
equitable system all across the board to everyone. Now, there's some issues that in the Constitution that are time specific for what was going on, but at least they were smart enough to allow opportunity to change.
yeah.
Very
We-
difficult, but it has to be an overwhelming majority to be able to change the Constitution.
We are some of the most politically empowered people in human history. And
Absolutely.
either people are not aware of that, or that doesn't mean as much to them as it does to me. But that is what I rest all of my faith, trust, sense of empowerment, all of that rest on that sense, that awareness.
Yeah.
And
I
the
just don't
best
have
way-
trust that my government has the best intentions for me or my children. I don't trust them to do the best. That's my job. I'm supposed to be doing the best for my children.
Yeah,
I don't want
I-
the government involved in education. I don't want them involved in gun legislation or gun regulation. I don't want them involved in any of it.
Yeah,
Those are the
You know,
I
slabs
can get
of meat
behind
they
that.
do.
And
There's nowhere in the Constitution that it outlines education whatsoever. But yet we have a Department of Education. That's what I'm saying about the slabs of meat. If we could just if we could stop right now, that would be fantastic. But
well, more to your point.
I make my
you brought up a
political
really good
distinction.
point, though.
When I ask somebody about the Constitution and they say we need to rewrite it, or we need to modify it, or it's fine the way, that's how I gauge my starting point with my political beliefs with interacting with somebody. If you can't agree that the Constitution as written in the beginning was a phenomenal document that still is valuable today, then I can talk with you. If you feel that document is racist and needs to be completely eliminated and rewrote and a new system needs to be put in, I don't have time for you. That's all I do.
Well, I think, I mentioned earlier penumbra and emanations. What base, like a lot of people might not understand what that is, but you brought up a really good point, Dominus. But and it kind of goes, I'm kind of trying to lead into this, is that penumbra and emanations basically means the scope and idea of what was written. So if you think of it like a shadow, you know when you're in the shadow and you know when you're not, but the border is a little bit fuzzy, right? Shadows don't really have crisp, clean edges, and that was intended to be that way because they understood the problem of central knowledge. Very few people cannot possibly comprehend what it takes to provide for a mass number of people. I mean, this is like classically one of the biggest downfalls of the Soviet Union and of communism in general, is the problem of central knowledge is just, you cannot overcome it, right? And the founding fathers understood this, and they wrote about it several times. They didn't call it the problem of central knowledge. They called it something else that I can't think of right at the moment. But the whole concept was that we were supposed to build off of the Constitution. The Constitution and all of our founding documents are supposed to be the jumping off point for the kind of society and the kind of government and the kind of country that we want to be. So there's a reason why we have the documents that we do, is because they're supposed to be simple, but they're supposed to be vague so that we can add on to them, because they realized the future is unknown. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know what kind of legislation we're going to have to enact in 30 years, right? Someone might come out with time travel and all of a sudden we've got to regulate that, but that's nowhere in the fucking Constitution. You know what I mean?
That's exactly why the education system is where I find is where all the subversion has taken place.
Oh, yeah.
When the education system was subverted back prior to 9/11, and this new crop of educators came in with, their own agenda, shall we say. And there's an agenda now. We can see it. And, through the education system, through the college, through that, they basically backdoored us and they brainwashed I shouldn't say brainwashed. I mean, that is a good word, but they refused to create, and I use critical thinking. I know it's an old term, but they refuse to just allow individuals to free think, allow individuals to obtain the knowledge, give them the knowledge, let that individual decipher that knowledge for their own. And that's the difference in generations that I think we're seeing. And that's how they're attacking the Constitution, because the next generation, they see you're absolutely, those shadows are getting bigger and bigger, and they're coming into more focus. And it's through the education system subverting the Constitution, subverting the normal order of the Constitution.
Yeah. Well, even Gramsci said that the best way to destroy a country is first through education.
Absolutely.
And then you permeate the rest of society from education. And that's the thing that concerns me the most too, is our education system. It's like my top tier concern. I even took my son out of the public education system and signed him into a charter, because they at least have some control over what they teach. And my son's school actually teaches philosophy and critical thinking. Our public school system doesn't. There are no philosophy classes. There is no critical thinking classes, because they don't want you to critically think.
Right. It's designed
counterproductive for them.
And I wasn't brought up in the public education system, but my first wife was a public educator. So I definitely have some grasp of that. But as far as my own personal, I went through, parochial education, private education. But to Untrackable's point, I live in a big metropolitan area. And even now, the faith-based parochial schools are not faith-based. They're not. They've been infiltrated. They have lay teachers. So what's the difference there? They don't monitor the lesson plans or anything like that. They basically just given into the teaching system. So that's not even an option anymore. The private parochial education, where it was when we grew up. Now you're just paying to avoid.
It is a little better though.
I gotta tell you what happened. So last week I went to my son's school, and I'm not going to tell you what kind of school it was, because it would be really easy to pinpoint where my son is.
Yeah.
But it's a charter school that definitely focuses on certain core personal characteristics that I want to see my son thrive within. But anyway, so I went there, and it's primarily boys, but I asked them, because I went in and I was concerned. I despise zero tolerance policies. I mean, I fucking despise zero tolerance policies more than I probably should. But I walked in there and I was like, okay, so you're doing this thing for a lot of the boys, and you got girls here too, and I'm sure you've got some, non-binary folks or whatever you want to say. But I said, what are you doing to promote the mental health and well-being of the boys in your school? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, that's concerning already. What do I mean? What do you mean? What do I fucking mean?
Yeah. Like,
you're teaching these boys these very specific kind of attitudes and these concepts of, self responsibility, integrity, and all these other things, right? Are you giving them, or are you offering them any opportunities to learn how to talk about their feelings? Are you providing anything?
I thought they were.
No,
it was all about that.
In my state, it's verboten, dude. It's against the law for even the school social worker or psychologist or therapist, whatever you want to call them. It's against the law for them to ask like very interesting, specific questions. They can't ask about their faith, what faith they belong to. They can't ask if everything is okay at home, which I actually agree. It's none of your fucking business. But
there's still
this
got to be a
is
third
local
party.
or state. That sounds.
Isn't there third party reporting?
State policy. This is a state
Hey,
policy.
can I chime in on that? And that is,
I got more to the story, but yeah, go ahead.
okay. No, just a real quick thing is, you're talking about a certain role at the school that can't ask these questions. However, in my personal experience, I believe in a chaplain. You know, an independent, vast. I don't know what the study is, but when you study religions and you know them all, to be able to help people when they have questions,
Phenomenal.
in life that connect to faith. I believe having a chaplain is very important, and there's no reason why there shouldn't be one in every school. Because I have one at my job now. I've had some at jobs before, and when they roam around, just them saying and asking you how you're doing, sometimes that's all you need a chaplain to do. But if somebody's literally like crying on the job and you don't know why, be like, hey, just please come talk to me for a second. And those people are licensed and protected to ask those questions. And I think it would be okay to have professionals in the schools to help with that. So please go on with your story.
I would too, but and that's a great point. It's just not allowed in my state. But the problem is I was talking to him and I'm like, I mean, are you guys aware of what the suicide rate is for men and boys? And they're like, no, what is it? And I'm like, one of them knew. I'll give him this credit. One of them knew what the answer to that was. And when he said it, because he stepped in, he's like, yeah, it's 3 out of 4 suicides are men. Women attempt more, but men complete more. And everybody's head in the room was just like shock and awe. They're like, there's no way. And he made them Google it, like right there in the conference room.
And these are educators in the room.
These are educators. And they had no idea because it's not common public knowledge. It's not like
it wasn't in their curriculum when they went to
Yeah, not a lot of people know what the suicide rate is. Like, just ask a random person if they know what the suicide rate is versus men and women. No one will know it. It's not common knowledge, right? Us in the men's sphere, we know it because it's an issue that we have to deal with. But I was like, what we're trying to do, which is create stoic men, if people understood what stoicism actually means, but we're trying to build strong. Yeah. We're trying to create strong men who are capable of doing anything, but the problem is that isn't working completely. Like, being this idea of what stoicism is right now, which stoicism is supposed to be looking inward. Like, the entire purpose of stoicism is to look inward at yourself, deal with your problems, make sure nobody else has to deal with them, you fix them, and you become a stronger person because of it. Stoicism isn't specifically male oriented. It's genderless, right? But the way that people like what's his name, Andrew
Wilson, or
no,
Andrew
the other
Tate?
guy, Andrew Tate. The way that Andrew Tate promotes it is it's like stoicism is like shut up and don't talk about your feelings kind of thing. But anyways, I was talking to him. I'm like, this is like whatever we're doing isn't working. There has to be another added layer on the foundation of what we're building these boys and men to be, which is we have to teach them how to effectively communicate and verbalize their feelings so that they can identify them. Otherwise, they just hold them in all the time. They hold it in. They don't have anybody to talk to. And I've said this on this podcast plenty of times. It's like most men feel like they are the emotional anchor of the family. If they fall apart, the entire family falls apart. So you can't talk to your wife about your fucking problems because she's relying on you. Right? So we have no outward course of action to be able to discuss our feelings in healthy ways that also, on top of that, don't create maladaptive behaviors that cause even more harm. And I said, what are you guys doing? And they're like, there's literally, and they went through the list of the things that they're able to even talk about with students. And I was dumbfounded, dude. I was in shock. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's eye-opening. I went through the same process with my son.
Yeah.
When, we went there. Well, again, we went to a parochial. He was going to a private school at the time, and he was diagnosed with Asperger's, and it was obvious to us. And we took that diagnosis to the school, and It was the list of 100 things that identify, and that was the final eye opener for me. That okay, this is happening. This is real. We're doing it, because every single one of those 100 things was a no brainer. It was like, yeah, he does that. Yeah, he does that. Yeah, he does that. We took that to the school while we're trying to develop the IEP form. First of all, they tell us, well, special needs right away. We got to get somebody in from the school district, and you got to or send him out, or whatever this and that. Okay, fine, whatever. But do you recognize any of these behaviors, any of these 100 behaviors on this list? Do you see this in him when he? No, we don't. I don't recognize any. Well, maybe that one, but no. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say anything, but I'm thinking to myself, they don't know my kid.
Yeah.
They haven't taken enough time to. I mean, if they would have come up with 10% of that list, I would have said, okay, your observations of my child are at least limited, but they couldn't identify a single one of them.
Jesus.
And at that point, I knew it was homeschooling. That was it.
Yeah.
And so it is in the educators. If they're not
part of their job is to get to know your kid.
Yeah. So really quick before we go too far away, because I want to finish the story real quick.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that we can move on.
Sorry.
But anyway, so I was talking to him. I said, okay, so if you can't do anything, what can I do? Because the actual words I said was, this is freaking ridiculous, right? We're talking about men and boys and what we're doing to create good, strong, reliable, healthy young men. But yet we're missing the entire base of this, which is the emotional health aspect of it. And you would probably find that a lot of your more emotional or physical outbursts in the school stopped if the boys were able to actually discuss their feelings and feel like they were in an environment where they could do that without retribution. What can we do? And one of the school social worker actually told me, well, what you can do, and I would love to see this happen, was to create a proposal on what you think we should be able to do, and then we can present that to the board of directors. So I'm going to be writing up a proposal for that school board of directors and seeing if I can. I'm going to go out. I'm going to get a couple of therapists, see if they'll sign on. I think my son's therapist might actually sign on because he has a relationship with what that school is doing. I wish I could say more, but I don't want to give away where my son is because there's like literally only one place that does this in my state. But I asked him, would you work with me off the books and help me through this? And he's like, if anybody asks, no. But if you bring it to me, I will tell you my genuine feelings, and I will help you overcome any obstacles that you're going to have in this. So my goal is to create a proposal that will allow us to create an after-school program that will help teach young boys and young men how to effectively communicate and to recognize maladaptive behaviors before they become issues for us and our partners. Because really, that's the big fucking thing.
Excuse, please.
Yeah.
Who decides what these maladaptive behaviors are, or what maladaption is?
Maladaptive behaviors, I would say, would be categorized as things that we unintentionally reinforce within ourselves that are unhealthy for both us, the people around us, and our mental health.
Right, but they're like, who determines those? Because it seems like there'd be a wide range of opinion on what. Basically, we're deciding how to raise men. And so who gets to arbitrarily determine that we've decided these behaviors are unhealthy for men?
I think that's an incredibly great question to ask, Jeff. And I think that's a question you should be asking. And I think what my response to that would be is I'm open to the idea of multiple people giving their voice to this, which is why I'm gathering multiple different therapists from multiple different backgrounds, including liberal and conservative. But
can we go back to stoicism for a second? Because
wait, I want to hear.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This point, one second.
Because I realize that there are more, I would say, hard left perspectives of psychology that would basically, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Pathologize.
They would pathologize. They pathologize the male body and the male mind, right? But I want that pushback there because we're supposed to be an egalitarian society that promotes ideas, not suppresses ideas. So I want to hear even the bad ideas. But there are specific things that I want to hit here, and not I don't want a broad range, but I want boys to get comfortable with talking about their feelings. So
Yeah.
conflict resolution. How do you resolve a conflict between you and your friend or you and your spouse? And what does that language look like? Is it acknowledging, or is it threatening, or is it accusatory language? You know what I mean? So basically just kind of a rough idea of what healthy communication looks like. And I want to see if I can get concepts in there that help promote boys to understand what good, healthy personal perspectives of themselves look like. That's what
I
I'm
like
talking
all
about.
of that.
I don't want to teach them psychology, 201 or 301 here. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to promote this environment where boys can learn how to speak about their feelings in an environment where they feel safe to do so. They can ask difficult questions like, my girlfriend's really trying to push me towards sex, but I don't want to. I want to wait until marriage. Well, as a liberal myself, and more left-leaning liberal myself, I would have a different response to that than someone who is of a Christian conservative background. He should have both of those voices to be able to derive a decision based off of that. And more importantly, I want the parents, especially the fathers, to be present in these after-school programs. You know what I mean? So it's going to be difficult. I don't know exactly how I'm going to formulate it. I don't know exactly how I'm going to propose it. And this just happened last fucking week. So I've never done a proposal. I've been a mechanic for 30 years of my life. I finally went back to school, and now I do something completely different. I work in the aerospace industry. So this is not exactly my fucking corner of intelligence.
Intellectuals. I totally agree with, and that's why I wanted to mention just briefly. Trust me, I have no background in anything I talk about. It's just all from personal experience. But the one thing I've learned with Stoicism, if you're going to use that as a foundation, which I totally agree with, just to keep in mind that most of our teachings about Stoicism come from a private conversation.
Yeah.
Most of Stoicism comes from the private diaries of Marcus Aurelius. So those were his own private thoughts that he wrote down.
Yeah,
which
they weren't
we
even
all
supposed
agree
to
with
be
them.
published.
But to Jeff's point, that if we're going to use that as a foundation, as start jumping on, we got to take into consideration that those are the private thoughts of one man, and that we need to, if a man thinks he should perform in a certain way, as long as it's socially acceptable, that's where I draw the line.
Why does it have to be socially acceptable, especially for a man? Like, why
Well,
can't
I don't think walking up and slapping somebody in the face is socially
Yeah, but we have laws. We have laws for that. I'm not.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm not talking about the stuff we're like. Hopefully, you're not doing an after-school program to teach children not to be violent and hit people, which they should have learned in kindergarten.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. However, when we talk about how to release any kind of rage or how to deal with emotions, if someone is told that's not acceptable, that's not an acceptable way to deal with your emotion, I see people all over who violently react to, situations that don't warrant a violent reaction. So where Steve says, we need to tell them what is acceptable behavior, but do it within the constraints, obviously, of the law. Anything that's unlawful, man should be able to tell everything about whatever he's feeling at the moment to another man. No problem, no questions asked. But you don't act upon those. What you share in verbal, you cannot act out in public. And that's what I see mostly in the society is people just acting out, whether it's physically or verbally or, and not caring, not having I'll leave it at that. But I think you can understand where I was going with that.
Yeah.
There is a way that men and boys need to carry themselves in public.
Yeah.
And if we could just
Well,
leave it
yeah,
right
but once
there,
again, I go back to who determines that, especially for Spurgs and people from other cultures. And I get policed for how I appear in public all the time, and I'm a grown adult.
and see that's
Well,
the
I mean,
crazy part, because Jeff, I don't see anything since I've been watching you. There is, you understand, you refer to the rocking, and
I've
that's just
told
the
this
thing.
example so many times. I was in a meet. I was on a mental health committee. I was in a board meeting, and one of the ladies that was sitting across from me said that because I talk with my hands, it's an indication that I'm violent. And I
yeah.
said, no, it's
Yeah, that's
not.
bullshit.
And she
That's bullshit.
insisted that it was. And I said, I'm gay and I'm from the South. I talk with my hands, and there's nothing wrong with that. And at that meeting, they all took a vote and voted me off the committee because they were convinced that I was a potential threat and violence because this lady had them
Oh
thinking
my
because I talk
God.
with my hands.
Was it majority female?
Yes.
Oh, there
Yeah.
you go.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's a
So,
problem
well,
for me.
obviously,
Women's social norms are a problem for men if we don't have a way to, like, some kind of way to enforce egalitarianism. Women's social norms will dominate and push, like, literally. And I had the charter the whole time, and I'm waving it around, say you can't do this. Like what you're doing here is illegal. And they're like, we don't care. We're doing it anyway. And they voted me out. They don't care about legal norms, anything.
I would have sued. That would have been awesome.
Well, the committee ended up getting disbanded. Otherwise, I probably would
Yeah.
have pushed it.
Well, so that's an excellent point. Is when people are like that, when groups are like that, they inevitably and invariably fail horrifically and spectacularly because they don't even know what they're fucking doing.
Yeah,
Like they have no idea what they're doing.
it's groupthink. You know?
Yeah. But I
yes,
was
there was
I
no
was gonna read
leadership.
something real quick.
There was the leader had stepped down, and these people were kind of left to run it on their own for a while. And they had a representative from the county that was in there to make it official. And I turned to her, and I'm like, "Are you gonna let them do this?" And she just sat there. She threw up her hands like, "I don't know what to do." So she was useless. So the one person in there that was supposed to show leadership was useless.
Yeah.
That's why I agree with Steve, with the male role model. It should be a male mentoring type of program. Understood. Well, I went to all boys Catholic high school. Our mentoring system was, and it's going to go back to the old school. You got a beef with another guy. You take it to the gym, you put the gloves on, you go 3 rounds, and then afterwards
You go grab a beer.
Right. Well, no, the priest would put his arms around both of you and go, is there anything solved between the two? You look at each other and go, no, absolutely not, but we're tired as hell. Like, good. Now
Yeah.
you can talk about it. Now you can sit and talk about it and not feel. And that clicked with me. The physical, that wasn't the trigger. The trigger was burn out your energy on the physical activities. But in the end of the day, you're still left with 2 individuals that have a difference of opinion, is all it is. And we've lost that simple process. And I think as men, maybe the physical aspect was the trigger to get get all that energy out, get all that.
Yeah.
And if that's how men can relate to men,
Roll around the dirt.
never understand.
Hold on. I want to push back on this politely.
Absolutely.
So let me challenge you. Is it because that is a norm that we have learned throughout time? Because a lot of the times men didn't have attachments to other men because we don't know if we're going to see you die on the battlefield. So I don't want to get overly personally attached to you. Right. And is this so? Okay, let me back up here. This obviously works, right? There's a procedure. We know it works. You can do this. You can repeat it multiple times. And we know exactly what you said will work. But the question I have and the pushback I have is, were we taught no better other way? Or have we not learned a better way yet? Do we have to be violent with one another to be able to promote the end effect, which is talking about what you want to get out? My argument would be, you put the 2 boys in the room, you say, this is how we're going to communicate this way or whatever, you educate them on how to emotionally express themselves in a healthy way that isn't tearing the other person down necessarily. And you say, okay, what's the real issue here? Because you're getting to that point eventually, when you put them in the ring, they fight, they get their energy out, and then they talk about it. Can we
Right?
skip
Would you
the
rather?
violence
Would
on
you
other
rather have
men?
them? Would you rather have them scrapping under the stairwell, and then have the
No.
conversation in the principal's office, or would you
No.
rather have them use this excess energy and say, okay, fine, you guys, you have this, you already have it in your head, you want to go to blows, which, okay, that's a give, that's animalistic, that's human nature, especially at a 17, 16, 17, 18-year-old boy. That's human nature. Now we're going to do it in a structured, safe, environment that has rules.
Like PE class.
Exactly. You have,
So-
you can't just, there's no jumping in, there's none of this other stuff. And then, okay, 3 rounds, 2-minute rounds. Do you still want to go? Oh, I don't want none of that. I'm done with that. Now let's talk about it.
Right.
And then you sit down. And when you come out of that room, that's what you're absolutely right. That's the same thing as when you were scrap on the street and then go have a beer afterwards.
Yeah.
But this was in an educational format, in an educational structure.
That sounds like what Steve's talking about.
So my point, my challenge here is that are we now teaching those boys that to be able to get their feelings out, first they have to go 3 rounds? And my argument is no. There should be a better way.
I would say one thing. Sometimes it might help. It might help to do something physical to get some of the like as a way of. So I wouldn't rule out that kind of activity, but
I'm not.
And for specific individuals, not just as a general thing.
I'm making
And I
the
understand
argument
the
that it
violence
doesn't
aspect.
always have to be that way. But we also have to think very carefully. Okay, so first and foremost, what we're doing is we are advocating for the idea that men can't control their emotions.
No, we're not.
Because we just put them in a ring to
No,
fight it out.
Is that
then
your?
on top of
Is that
that,
their position? You're saying?
This
or
is my
yours?
challenge. This is my
Okay.
challenge.
All right. Got
Okay.
it.
Are we teaching them that this is the only way that they can talk about their feelings, that they have to beat something up first? And second is what I just mentioned before, which is are we unintentionally criminalizing the male psyche because we can't control ourselves? Because here's the argument that I hear a lot of the times, and I don't mean this to be a tangent. I'm just using this as an example. Let's not go down this rabbit hole. But I ask conservatives this a lot, which is, what is it that you fear about men in women's bathrooms? Right? And it's always, well, I don't want them to fuck up, my wife or my kids. And it's like, okay, so what you're doing is you're criminalizing the male body. You're saying that men are criminals, men are evil, they're violent, they're brutish, they're going to be abusers. That's what you're saying to me. That's
I
what
don't
I'm
take it
hearing
that
from
way.
you
I don't
now.
see it that way.
I know, but this is my argument when I talk to them, and usually they're dumbfounded. They're like, "Holy shit, you're right. We are." I still don't want them in there, but I'm going to think about this for a little bit longer. So that's my challenge. Like, are we unintentionally criminalizing or even dressing down men's ability to control their emotions when we don't teach them how to do that, and rather than teaching them an alternative method which has to include violence?
No.
That's my challenge. Is there a better way?
Yes, there is, because I don't think men controlling their emotions is the issue. I think men should be able to have allowed whatever emotion. I think it's any actions you take on the emotion. I think you address it the action end, not the having an emotion end. That's my issue with it. I want to normalize men having every emotion just like everybody else, and being able to discern what actions to take as a result, or how that translates into behavior, instead of stigmatizing or regulating the experience of having the emotion itself.
So I'm not disregarding that. I hope it didn't sound like I was disregarding the importance of men's feelings and our ability to express them. I'm talking about a very specific thing, which is the emotion of anger is perfectly reasonable when somebody double crosses us or violates our trust, right?
Most people don't
think
feel
that's
anger
perfectly reasonable
without a reason.
But we can't devolve into a society where we have to be violent in order to talk about our feelings. That is not conducive to a society that is strong and that is successful.
Like, I didn't get any of that out of this conversation, but do you mean like the boxing and stuff he was talking about?
I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just challenging.
No. I appreciate it. I totally. Let me do it a different way. Okay, it's the same. Okay, first of all, this, the school, it was all male, so we're operating in a highly testosterone
Yeah, no
environment.
shit. Yeah.
We already had no problem sharing emotions. Like, hey, bro, get the fuck away from my locker. We didn't have, that was not a problem. The problem was when it came to a point where our words were unavailable. When a man, and that's a man thing. That's a man thing. When we could still be grounded in honesty and goodness, and those are where our warriors come from. But when we lose the verbiage and we get to a point, it's the fight or flight thing. Then that's the point. Now, would you rather you get two guys, you're going to scrap in the hallway?
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather send them and tell them to go take 10 laps? Or would you rather have them, it's already going to be physical. You know it. So, and I'm not saying we should handle, this is not the way to handle society. This is just a specific age group, a specific, even Jeff. I would not, if Jeff were in the situation, obviously I'm not going to, this is just, if I were, I wouldn't do that. That's not the right situation. But where I came from, the streets I ran in, that got across to us.
Well, and and I'm 47, and I've been in those situations where I have done exactly what you're explaining here, where I had to fight someone, and then we talked about it. Like, I've done it numerous times in my life. As a matter of fact, I got into a fight with a kid in junior high, and we remained friends for like 10, 12 years after that. We just grew apart, right? But my point is like, okay, so if you allow them to fight, I think that at least one of the phrases that should come out of your mouth is, now, you've talked about your feelings. Do you think that the fight was really that necessary? Could you have done this without the fight?
That's what that's exactly what they all, I wasn't a party to a ton of them, but the motivation was, you got 6 minutes to burn off all this energy that you cannot verbalize, that you cannot rationalize, that you cannot socialize acceptably. So there's your 6 minutes. Okay, now you're done.
Well,
now,
the other dude's too tired to kick your ass now. So
right, let's sit down. Okay, nothing got solved because you're both just tired as shit and you're all not.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now, it really that opens the door and mentally prepares you to. Well, there's nothing else left, but there's nothing left but verbal interaction. Once you've exhausted the physical part of it, in a healthy, supervised environment, now you're left with your words. So
is that a dog?
Yeah, he's mad because I'm not playing with him. So
you're playing
with himself now.
So part of me is like, I understand what you're saying, and I absolutely do agree with it to a certain extent, because I've seen it work. I've gone through the process myself, right? But what I'm concerned about is us just, thinking that this is the only way, or it's just the best way to deal with our problems as men. I don't want to get trapped in that echo chamber, that thinking that this is the only way we will ever be. I don't know a lot of people that even think that.
I specifically, once you get
you're specifically focused on the age group.
You bet. This is strictly when you're a minor. When I hate to say it like this, but basically when your life is not your own. This is our job as men to introduce these concepts and these tools to you. But once they get to 18, 19, 20, college age, hopefully they've been through that process and they've realized that the physical altercation it doesn't solve a damn thing. That's how I've approached it. But
I've done the same thing with my son. I told him, if you have to fight someone, you've already failed at communication. So what he did, he actually came home. I can't remember when it was. It was a while ago. It was last year, and he was talking about this kid that wanted to fight him, and he was just he basically remembered what I told him, and he said, okay. So he asked this kid, what did I do that bothered you so much? And the kid explained it, and he was like, yeah, but that wasn't intentional, and I hope you understand that. If you still want to fight, you can fight me, but that doesn't change the fact that what I did, that I take accountability for, was not intentional. And they ended up not fighting, and they actually started to get along after that. So, I mean, if we can teach boys how to emotionally discuss their feelings in responsible ways, I think we avoid a lot of the associations that we have to be violent to be able to speak. And I think if we teach our children young enough to be able to do this, and we create a culture in the home where this can happen, the more homes that are like that, the more purposeful our conversations are going to be with our fellow men, and the more benefit that we'll get out of it. I think we'll actually turn into more compassionate men as well.
I'm wondering, like, I grew up in the 80s, and this was all
Everybody here did, Jeff.
I know, but that almost never, like what you're describing, I'm trying to think of growing up, and I'm like, where did this even, where was all this violence in the home? Most people did teach the men that, and most of the men were not violent. So in the 80s, they were teaching men in the home not to be violent, and it was working. Or I don't even know if they were explicitly teaching it, but it didn't seem to be an issue.
I personally didn't get taught that, but my dad was, I say this a lot, and I love my father, I really do. But my father has the emotional quotient of a cucumber. Like, he just does not have a good connection with his feelings. He doesn't know how to talk about them. He would rather be in a coma than talk about his feelings, right? But something that he did, which was really interesting, is like anytime I ever got hurt, my mom always knew to stand back and let my dad take care of it. So my dad would walk up to me and be like, is anything broken? And we've all heard this. Is anything broken, or are you bleeding? No? Well, then get up. We got shit to do. And so we would do it. But after we were done, my dad would always ask me, how are you doing? And it wasn't because he was wanting to elicit this long conversation about my feelings, but he wanted to acknowledge that I had them. Because a father's responsibility is to teach our children how to regulate their emotions. Her responsibility is to affirm that we have emotions, and fathers are responsible for teaching children how to regulate their emotions.
Steve, some of this is cultural. Role. I keep going back to the emotion thing. Some of this is cultural, because emotional regulation is not a thing in all cultures. Like that there are specific cultures that have this idea that emotion should be kept within a certain range. Not all cultures value that or believe that. So even that norm, there's a strong cultural bias to it. Go to South Louisiana and tell people to regulate their emotions. They're not going to have a clue what you're talking about.
I think regulate emotion might be a strong term.
I keep going back to the focus seems to be on the emotion. I still can't get over the sense that it's the emotion itself that's the problem, or that's where the stigma is landing over any behavior that results from the emotion.
Hey, really quick, I got to go pick up my son from school, but I don't think it's cultural, and I think there's enough studies to.
So what I just said about my own culture, you don't believe that what I just said is true? Because that would make it culture. Just my own culture alone would make it culture. Black culture, Hispanic cultures, Italian American cultures. There's cultures where emotional regulation is just not a thing. And to dismiss that and say, oh, I don't think it's cultural, I think it is universal. Your culture is wrong. It's just not aligned with the universal norm.
Yeah, I didn't hear you say that because I was on the phone with my son.
Oh, and before you go, Steve, I want you to the culture. You're absolutely right. But I think it's not the acts. I think it's if you understand where and why you feel they're going to behave like this, that leads understanding a man's emotion. If a man can understand
emotional intelligence is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. If he can understand his emotions, then he can control them. Yeah. That's all there is.
Yeah. And so that's generally been the male's the father's responsibility in that relationship between father and child.
Understand the emotion.
That's the point that I was trying to get. It wasn't that, and I apologize if I misspoke or caused a miscommunication. That was my main intent, is to just say that fathers are responsible for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, I mean, if you look at, and I'll just say this really quick, is if you look at the women that are complaining about men today, and they say they're over emotional, they're unstable. It's like, who are they raised by? Probably a single mom. So now tell me, whose fault is it? Is it your fault for keeping the father out of the home? Maybe. Probably something you should fucking look at.
Yeah.
Stop bitching about it.
But and in some cases, there's reasons to have the father out of the home. Like even if you do lose that
That is not
emotional
part of my argument.
intelligence, you're
That's
you're
a
preventing a
whole other.
greater harm in the process.
That's a
Yeah,
whole
That's
other.
why I think having healthy male role, like substitute male figures that can do that if there's not a healthy father around.
So I'm not coming from the argument that, oh, abusers should be let in the home or whatever, or unhealthy people should be promoted. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in general, it's better to have fathers or positive male role models, preferably the father, to be around the children as much as possible and to give as much assistance in the child rearing process as humanly possible. You don't want people in there that are going to do more harm than good. I think that goes without saying. That should be such an obvious perspective that we shouldn't even really have to.
I think that's
discuss
a good place to
But
yeah.
but if the men are not getting it from their fathers, there's going to be less of those around as adults to even
and that's
do
where
that
the
for the kids. And
education
I think that's
process-
what
That's
we're
the
running into
paradox,
as
bro.
well.
That's where the
That's the fucking
education
paradox.
process is. Oh, fine. You don't have a man. Trust us. Just come
But,
talk to
hey.
us, and we'll direct you. We'll guide you. That's where the two confront. Is that the men have subverted or have been.
I gotta go, guys.
You know.
Love you guys.
Take care,
Hey, take
Steve.
care, man. Nice meeting you.
I want to address this comment from Philip. I'm going to die on this hill that emotional regulation is cultural. It's a cultural bias, and I plan to prove that with this very show because I plan to be successful and have all of my emotions unregulated in the process and not be in jail. So we'll see if I can pull all that off. I want to give an example of a male who can be successful and not have to do this emotional regulation thing, because really that all it is you babysitting your emotions so the people around you that can't regulate theirs, you're doing the emotional regulation for the people around you is what it really is. Because if they want you to regulate your emotions, but if they were able to do it for themselves, they wouldn't even need you to regulate yours because they could regulate their own reaction to your strong emotions. Wow, sabotage. I like you today. I know he did say, but my own situation and friends of mine, a lot of us were better off without our biological father specifically. Not to say like another male could not have filled that role, but I wouldn't want fathers that are bad for the kid to be put in that role just because they're the biological father and say that it must be this guy if there's somebody that might be better. And I would say the same for other parents.
Yeah, I agree. Well, yeah. Well, that comment about I can't even. Yeah, I have an enormous, vast amount of resource. Like I said, I was a
corrections officer.
A quick study of social behavior. You go to a correctional institute that's full of 1,000 men, you're going to get the rawest, the barest boned male. Everything, all defenses are dropped. And so when I talk, I'm just coming from that kind of experience where I've seen the behavior of. I've seen men who've been doctors who have been reverted to violence in order to protect their property. People you don't.
But anybody can. Women can do, like any human can be put into an aggressive. Any human's capable of violence or aggression in the right circumstances, under the right provocation.
And for men, it's back to the point: how do we handle our aggression? And you're absolutely right. I do believe it's culture. I do believe. I mean, just sit at an Italian dinner for a Sunday dinner, a true Italian family, and they're not afraid of sharing emotions. Everybody knows what everybody's feeling, and that's the way that's if it's comfortable for them and it works for them, and they're performing. They're taking care of their family. They're healthy. Then that works.
That's why I don't think it's the regulation that's the issue. I think it's what you said. So what we're talking about is don't be violent. If you're having an emotion and one of your default options is to physically aggress, find another alternatives. Let us find some healthier ways than violence, so you have other options besides that one. So when we rule out physical violence, there could be a range of those other options, because there's different types of men, there's different cultures. So I wouldn't want to be too dogmatic about, if we're going to avoid violence, then let's standardize it to these one or two options and say this is what is healthy for men. I think you need to be open and flexible to the range of men that you're going to encounter, as long as you're offering some solutions other than violence that are healthy.
And that's where I made that classification as far as long as it's law abiding, because you're absolutely right. Everyone knows the laws, but nobody seems to want, especially in that age group of young adult men, the laws are optional when it comes to their emotions. Okay, we're working with that. Your emotions are more important than the laws. Okay, fine. But how can you identify those emotions, still validate
Is it
them,
that people, when people see emotion,
social structure?
when people see strong emotion, I'm thinking of this comment by Philip. Are they assuming there's an action? I never assume that emotion is going to lead to action. Because I come from a culture where people are constantly emotional all the time. If I see someone with an emotion, or whose emotions are escalating, I don't ever assume automatically that an act is about to take place as a result. I've seen people stay in their emotions for hugely and take no action whatsoever. So the assumption that a rise in emotion is an indication that to prepare for an act is, and I work in mental health. I've worked in settings where you do have to be prepared at any second for an act to pop off. So I wonder if there's like people that come from cultures where they're expected to regulate emotion and keep the intensity of it within a certain range, and if you fail to do that, that it becomes indication of a threat. You're out of that range, like a car speeding on the highway, and so people become concerned when they see a speeding car. But for cultures that don't have an emotional speed limit, there's no assumption made about speeding cars, because there's not really the concept of a speeding car. So some cultures can have emotions that indicate things to them that other cultures, it's just a normal, just an increased level of a normal emotion. It doesn't necessarily mean anything's going to happen.
And to your point, I'll give you an example. You would be sitting in the jail setting. You're sitting on a tier, and you have a day room. There's 60 guys, and there's all kind of muttering, quiet, silence. And you sit there, you observe, you make sure everybody's safe. But you start to hear a lot of commotion in the corner and what's going on. And to the untrained eye, you think, oh, this is emotion. Something is going to happen. Something's popping off. And no, it's not. It's just four guys sitting around playing spades.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
they stand up, and now they're on the table. They're slapping those cards down, and that's a healthy outburst of emotion. If you can recognize, okay, cool, you guys want to get crazy and slap the cards down, that's fine. When you come to blows, that's a different kind of emotion.
Right. That's what I'm trying to figure out. If the act of a male having an emotion is threatening to people, because it shouldn't be. It can be just a bunch of males playing spades and getting excited. But why are people so nervous about letting men have emotions? Why are they assuming it's something dangerous every time a male tries to have a completely normal emotion for him? I think there's a stigma against they want certain emotions from males, and they want less of others, and they want them within a certain range, and they want to be able to regulate, manage, and control because it scares them or threatens them, and they feel a certain way around it. But if it's normal for that person, let that person have their emotion. If it makes you feel a way, then don't be around it. They used to tell this to gay people, like, don't act too gay. Try to reduce the amount of gayness that you act, so that you'll be palatable of other people that accept you. And gay people said, fuck no, girl, Miss Thing, yes, queen, we're going to act as gay as they, and that's what they did. They didn't let people put a limit on how gay they could be. And I don't think men should do it either. I think men should have their full range of emotions because they need that for their own development. Men don't just exist for other people. They have their own personal goals and developmental goals as well that they're going to need that range of emotions for. And when you try to take that away from men, you inhibit their own growth.
Agreed.
Sean. Right, exactly this. And that's the price you pay for standing your ground. What's the alternative? Like, how I appear to others has never stopped me from doing something that I knew was the right thing to do, ever.
And on the flip side, Jeff, if, the other side of the coin, if I happen to be, this is a Gen X thing. I am not of that culture. And at that time, I probably wouldn't even, have any, but I'll be, hey, you go, girl. You looking fabulous, and then I walk the other way. You do you.
Yeah,
Jeff, you. That's what we're in. Yeah, I don't want to get down that path, but I'm gonna go. Got anybody else? Because I think this dog wants to go out.
Oh no, I wasn't even my banner on today. Yeah, no, that's fine. We could wrap up, and I can take a break and come back later this afternoon.
Yeah, I got some. I got a big weekend. I got back just now from picking up $100 worth of ice cream bars. And,
are you doing like a gathering?
This is gonna blow your mind. But yeah, my Knights of Columbus Council is hosting. No, I told you. No, we're hosting a ice cream social and backpack school supply giveaway.
The KC Hall.
I'm almost. I got 96 assorted candy bar, ice cream bars, and I got a dozen, 3 dozen of the freezer pops, and we got 10 backpacks, and we got school supplies to fill the backpacks, and so that's going to be my Sunday afternoon up at the church. I just did have a conversation.
Oh, I think that's fantastic, dude.
But I just say that I share that as an example of how my animosity towards the church does not stop me from being a good male role model. I got an issue with the structure of the church.
And like that person said when you were on stream, like that wasn't all the church either. So cut them a little bit of slack.
It was the individuals. I recognize that absolutely. But no, that's why I'm pretty stoked for that. It's going to be a good time. We're giving out raffle tickets, so every kid every kid gets 2 tickets. So they can either use one for the backpack and use another one to get them an ice cream bar, or they can put both tickets in the backpack if they don't want the ice cream. They can put both tickets. They can buy more ice cream, and then the parents, if they want to help out, you can buy a few more tickets.
Well, now here's my question: is every kid going to eventually end up with an ice cream bar?
Well, with 170, I think we got about 170 bars. Yeah, they're all going to get one. Okay. They're all going to get one, at least one. But in my opinion, that gives them the opportunity. Here's 2 tickets. You decide
to start making decisions.
If you don't value ice cream as much as you value a backpack full of school supplies, man, put 2 tickets in for the backpack.
Yeah.
If you appreciate ice cream more than backpack, so I always look for an opportunity to give kids the opportunity to make their own decisions.
Yes.
So
that's.
I just wanted to share that with you. That's my weekend.
God, that is so. Oh fuck, that's empowering.
I'm sorry.
Yes, but it's empowering in a cognitive way, cognitively empowering people where they could start using their minds to decide things and make choices and evaluate actions.
And that's why I have such a hard time with the education system. When I see what they've done, when I see how they've detrimentally affected society in a way that it's going to take forever. We've got 2 generations who, quote unquote, have been brainwashed to think in a groupthink kind of way.
I don't think this stuff is going to fool most of the people most of the time. I think the new generations, I think they're going to look at it and see it for what it is at some point. It's just not going to track with reality for too long.
Well, I got about 10 more years before I decide that you kids can do what the fuck you want. Burn the
Oh,
shit
I'm
down,
already
I
at
don't
that.
give
I've already decided that. I'm just trying to minimize its impact on my own life, and just educate everybody else about, so they can make whatever decisions.
And I like that stoicism approach because that's exactly what it does. You mind your own business, you internalize, you process, you act, but above all else, you maintain your dignity. You maintain your male role. You need to. Your name is what you is all you have. So your performance, not that people are going to judge you, but whether you perform for the benefit of others or for the detriment of others. That's how
Yeah.
I judge. That's how I judge. I don't care how you perform. It's fascinating to see how other cultures approach charity. That just, that's wild. But yeah, if you're charitable and of goodwill, you're on one side. If you're not, well, then I'm sorry. I'm going to leave you by the wayside. That's all. So, but I'll let you go. Maybe I'll see you this evening, but if not, hey, have a good Friday. Everybody out there, I apologize if I came in like a wrecking ball
Stop
again.
apologizing. You didn't do anything wrong. You were fine.
That's my male. That's my
Oh.
yeah. These women have got me beat down to the point where I have to
Oh,
apologize
no.
for every goddamn thing. I'm
Well,
sorry.
we'll unsocialize you. You've been
I'll see you guys.
over-socialized.
I'll see you, chat. Everybody take care.
Take care, Doc. We'll see you again. All right. Well, that was good. I enjoyed it. I love talking about men's stuff, men's issues, mental health, all that. That's my favorite thing. And then you add in the Spurg, like the little Spurg lens on it all, and that's my intersection right there. So that was good. Yeah, I think I'll wrap up, give myself a little break, and be back out in a few hours this afternoon. Tonight's Friday night, so there's a lot that goes on in the Panelverse in the evening. So there'll be lots to keep you engaged, and I'll be running my little chill out space for people that need a break from all that or want to do something different. In the meantime, have a great Friday. Thank you again, everyone, and we'll do it again very, very soon. Take care. Rock. Heartland rock. All right, take care.